Hello guys, welcome to Saiyan What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Goku was trained by the primordial gods? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Divine Discovery. The pod hurtled through the void, its tiny occupant oblivious to the cosmic turbulence that had diverted its programmed course. Kakarot, infant son of Bardock, slept in stasis as his vessel penetrated a prismatic barrier that no Saiyan craft had ever encountered, a dimensional membrane separating the mortal universes from something far beyond. Above, the dimensional plane where time flowed like liquid crystal, 12 titanic beings observed the anomalous intrusion. Their forms shifted between states of matter and energy, occasionally resembling humanoid silhouettes before dissolving into patterns of pure conceptual thought. "A mortal vessel breaches our domain," observed a voice like distant thunder. "A curiosity not witnessed in 16 cosmic cycles. A Saiyan child," replied another, this one resonating with tones of spring growth and winter death simultaneously. From Universe 7. His trajectory suggests programming from the now extinct planet Vegeta. The being who appeared most consistently feminine moved closer to the observation pool. Light cascaded through her form, stars being born and dying within the contours of what might be called her body. When she spoke, planets aligned in distant galaxies. "I sense potential unlike any mortal pattern I have observed," Etheria said, her voice causing ripples across the cosmic medium. "This one carries a rare divergence in his spiritual architecture." Across the dimensional forum, a presence of swirling chaos contracted into a more defined shape. Crimson energy sparked through patterns of darkness as Lilith, embodiment of creative destruction, joined the observation. "You always did have a soft spot for interesting anomalies, sister," Lilith remarked, her voice reeing the harmonic dissonance of colliding galaxies. "But this one, yes, I see it too. The child carries the seed of something extraordinary." "We are not caretakers of mortal infants," objected a stern presence of absolute order. "Return it to its designated trajectory. And waste this opportunity," Lilith challenged, her form flaring with supernova brightness. "When was the last time anything surprised us?" 10 billion years. 20. Etheria's light pulsed in what might be interpreted as contemplation. "I propose an experiment. This Saiyan species has remarkable adaptive qualities. How might one become if shaped by primordial knowledge? You suggest we raise a mortal?" The concept seemed to physically disturb several of the entities, their forms destabilizing briefly. "Not merely raise," Etheria clarified. "Train, guide. His inherent nature combined with our knowledge might yield something unprecedented." Lilith's chaotic form spiraled in what approximated excitement. "I second the proposal. Let us see what becomes of a Saiyan trained in arts beyond mortal comprehension." The debate raged for what might have been moments or millennia in mortal terms, the concept of time being fluid in this realm beyond realms. In the end, curiosity, that most dangerous and wonderful of forces, prevailed. "The experiment is approved," announced the eldest presence. "Etheria and Lilith shall oversee the subject's development. The council will reconvene when significant milestones manifest." And so it was that Kakarot, who would have become Earth's son Goku in another timeline, instead became the first mortal to be raised among the primordial gods. "Again," Etheria commanded, her form now condensed to a humanoid appearance of breathtaking beauty, skin like polished alabaster marked with constellation patterns. Hair flowing like liquid starlight. The child before her, no longer an infant but a boy of 7 by mortal reckoning, stood panting in the center of a training circle. The environment around them constantly shifted. One moment a rocky plateau under 3 suns, the next an arctic wasteland, then a domain of pure conceptual mathematics where physical laws rewrote themselves every few seconds. "I've been at it for days," young Goku protested, wiping sweat from his brow. Despite his complaint, his eyes shone with the thrill of challenge. His tail, a remnant of his Saiyan heritage, twitched with anticipation. "Time is an illusion here," Etheria reminded him. "And your concept of days remains charmingly primitive. Now, focus your essence. Perceive the underlying pattern of reality. Then redirect it." Goku closed his eyes, drawing on the techniques he'd been taught since arriving in this realm beyond realms. unlike conventional ki manipulation that mortals practiced. This required him to perceive energy at its most fundamental level, the threshold where matter, energy, and thought became indistinguishable. He felt it then, the cosmos breathing through him. With a sudden clarity, he could trace the luminous threads of possibility surrounding his form. His hand shot forward, fingers splayed, and reality bent. The shifting environment froze, captured in his gravitational field of influence. Better, Etheria acknowledged, though her expression remained impassive. Now maintain it while defending yourself. Without warning, 7 spheres of condensed cosmic energy materialized and hurtled toward him from different angles. Goku maintained his reality lock with one hand while his body instinctively responded to the threat. He dove, rolled, leapt, and twisted through impossible angles. Each movement flowed into the next with liquid precision, his Saiyan combat instincts enhanced by divine training. 6 spheres he evaded. The 7th caught him squarely in the chest, detonating in a flash of conceptual energy that temporarily converted his physical form into pure mathematical probability. When he rematerialized, he was on his knees, gasping. The reality lock had shattered. Your multitasking still needs work, Etheria noted, making a gesture that stabilized the environment into a simple marble platform floating in a sea of nebulous color. Though your physical adaptation remains impressive. That's because you train him like a cosmic accountant, came a new voice, rich with wild harmonies. Lilith materialized from a spiral of beautiful destruction, her form settling into that of a striking woman with skin like burnished copper and hair resembling living flame. All concept and no passion. The boy's a Saiyan, not one of your celestial mathematicians. Quote. Goku brightened immediately. Lilith, are we training together today? Where Etheria's teaching focused on cosmic understanding and precise control, Lilith's methods embraced chaos, instinct, and raw power. The contrast between them had given Goku a unique perspective on his developing abilities. Indeed we are, little warrior, Lilith confirmed with a feral grin. Etheria's had you playing with reality strings long enough. Time to remember what it means to fight with your blood on fire. Etheria's starlight eyes narrowed slightly. He must master conceptual manipulation if he's ever to transcend his mortal limitations. And he will, Lilith countered, ruffling Goku's wild black hair affectionately. But not by forgetting what he is at his core. Balance, sister, isn't that what you're always preaching? The tension between the two goddesses was palpable, charging the air with cosmic potential. Goku had long since learned that their philosophical differences represented fundamental forces of the multiverse. Etheria embodying harmonic order, Lilith representing creative chaos. Their eternal opposition created the dynamic balance that sustained existence itself. Very well, Etheria conceded. But remember our agreement, no exposing him to primordial flames before his 16th cycle. Lilith winked at Goku conspiratorially. Wouldn't dream of it. Now run along, sister. We have chaos to embrace. After Etheria departed in a shimmer of stellar light, Lilith's training circle materialized, a perfect inverse of Etheria's ordered design. Where the harmony goddess used structured patterns, Lilith's arena constantly reconfigured itself according to no discernible logic. Now, Lilith said, cracking her knuckles as her eyes blazed with elemental fire. Show me what that Saiyan heart can do when it's unleashed. Goku's response was a grin that matched her own, wild and full of joyful anticipation. He dropped into a fighting stance uniquely his own. A blend of instinctive Saiyan combat posture and the divine martial arts his celestial mentors had taught him. No holding back, he asked hopefully. Would I ever? Lilith replied, and attacked. What followed would have been incomprehensible to mortal observers. They moved not just through physical space but through conceptual dimensions, their combat extending beyond mere exchange of blows. Each strike carried intent that rippled through layers of reality. Lilith's fighting style was beautiful anarchy, unpredictable, innovative, constantly evolving. She never used the same attack twice, forcing Goku to adapt instantaneously. Unlike his sessions with Etheria, where mistakes were met with cool correction, here errors resulted in painful consequences. Lilith held nothing back, each punishing blow teaching him through direct experience. And Goku thrived under it. His Saiyan blood sang with the joy of battle, his power increasing with each challenge. Other species might break under such intensive training, his inherent capacity for growth through combat allowed him to absorb techniques that had taken lesser beings millennia to grasp. Hours later, or perhaps days, as time remained fluid in this realm, they paused, Goku breathing hard while Lilith appeared merely invigorated. "You're improving," she acknowledged. "That last counter incorporated Etheria's harmonic principles while maintaining aggressive posture. Good integration." Goku beamed at the rare praise. "I've been working on combining your teachings. It feels stronger when balanced." Lilith studied him thoughtfully. "Perhaps that's your unique gift, finding harmony between opposing forces without diminishing either." She stretched, her form briefly shifting through several exotic states before settling back into humanoid appearance. "Enough for today. The council convenes soon, and there's talk of your first mission." Goku's eyes widened. "A mission? Outside the Nexus? Don't get too excited," Lilith cautioned, though her smile betrayed her own anticipation. "It's a simple observation task. But yes, beyond our domain, into one of the mortal realms. Consider it a field test of your training." The prospect of venturing beyond the primordial nexus, of testing his abilities in a universe bound by conventional laws of physics, sent a thrill of excitement through Goku. During his years of training, he had absorbed incredible knowledge about the cosmos, but experienced little of it directly. "When do we leave?" he asked eagerly. "After the council's decision," Lilith replied. "Now go rest. Even Saiyans have limits, despite what you seem to believe." As Goku departed for his chambers, a pocket dimension crafted to resemble a simple mountain home, a concessi. On to his need for familiarity, Lilith's expression grew pensive. She sensed the approaching nexus point in his destiny, one that would set in motion events beyond even her ancient foresight. "Grow strong, little warrior," she murmured. "The void stirs, and you may be the wild card we never knew we needed." The Cosmic Council chamber defied mortal comprehension. Its architecture followed non-Euclidean geometry, simultaneously vast enough to house titans and intimate enough for whispered secrets. The 12 primordial gods assembled in their full glory, their true forms causing reality to bend respectfully around them. Goku stood at the chamber's center, now a young man of 16 by physical appearance, though his actual time in the Nexus had been much longer. His simple training GI, modeled after designs from Universe 7, contrasted sharply with the cosmic splendor surrounding him. His stance was relaxed yet alert, confident without arrogance. "The experiment has reached its evaluation point," announced Kronos, master of infinite time. "The subject has completed basic training in primordial arts. We must decide whether to proceed with field application. He has exceeded preliminary projections," Etheria reported. "His conceptual manipulation skills have reached 70% of theoretical maximum for his current developmental stage. His comprehension of harmonic principles allows him to perceive up to 9-dimensional layers simultaneously. His adaptive combat potential remains unmatched," Lilith added. "He continues to integrate opposing techniques into novel applications. When pressed beyond his limits, his growth accelerates exponentially rather than plateauing." Murmurs rippled through the assembly, causing minor reality fluctuations throughout the chamber. Goku remained still, aware that his future hung in the balance of this evaluation. "The subject shows acceptable progress," acknowledged Thanos, arbiter of cosmic balance. "However, theoretical training cannot predict performance under actual conditions. A controlled field test is warranted." "What parameters do you propose?" inquired Moros, weaver of destiny. "Universe 7, Quadrant Epsilon," suggested Etheria. "A dying star system with an inhabited world facing extinction within one solar cycle. The civilization there has achieved Type 2 status but cannot prevent their sun's accelerated decay." "A simple observation mission would suffice," said Kronos. "The subject can monitor the civilization's response to inevitable extinction without interference." Goku, who had remained silent throughout the discussion, finally spoke. His voice carried none of the reverberating power of the entities surrounding him, yet it drew their collective attention immediately. "If I may," he said respectfully but firmly, "I'd prefer a mission where I can actually help. Watching people suffer without acting doesn't seem right." The chamber fell silent. Direct input from the subject during council proceedings was unprecedented. Lilith laughed, the sound causing beautiful destruction patterns to materialize briefly around her. "Always the surprising one," This is precisely why the experiment remains valuable. He thinks in ways we no longer can. Intervention violates the non-interference directive, Thanos reminded sternly. Actually, Etheria interjected, the directive applies specifically to established timeline paths. This particular civilization exists in a probability shadow. Their extinction creates no significant ripples through the cosmic tapestry. It could say, RVE is an ideal testing ground for measured intervention. The debate continued for what might have been hours or centuries. Goku waited patiently, having long adjusted to the fluid nature of time in this realm. Finally, consensus emerged. The mission is authorized, declared Kronos. The subject will observe the astral kingdoms of Elysium Prime and may implement limited intervention strategies. Etheria will monitor from dimensional proximity. Return is scheduled upon mission completion or at the first sign of cosmic disruption. Goku bowed respectfully, a gesture he had adopted from observed memories of his original culture. Thank you for your trust. I won't disappoint you. As the council dispersed, Lilith approached him, her form now condensed to merely 7 simultaneous states of being. Excited for your first taste of mortal realms? She asked. Definitely, Goku replied with an eager grin. I've seen countless worlds through the observation pools, but experiencing one directly will be different. Plus, I finally get to help people instead of just studying them. Just remember, Lilith cautioned, her expression growing serious, mortal realms operate under fixed laws. Your abilities will function differently there. What comes effortlessly here may require immense concentration there. And their perception of you will be limited. I know, he assured her. Vey studied the transitional physics extensively. And don't worry, I'll maintain cover protocols. Lilith's laugh returned. That's what concerns me least. You're too honest for effective deception. Just be yourself, but perhaps with slightly fewer casual references to multidimensional concepts. She rested a hand on his shoulder, briefly transferring a spark of her chaotic essence to strengthen his core. Trust your instincts, little warrior. They've never led you astray. Later, as Goku prepared in his chambers, Etheria arrived. Unlike Lilith's casual materialization, she announced herself with a harmonic resonance before entering. Your equipment is prepared, she informed him, presenting a simple bracelet of material that seemed to both exist and not exist simultaneously. This will allow you to channel a measured portion of your abilities while maintaining quantum stability in the lower dimensions. Thank you, Goku said, securing it around his wrist. Etheria, what aren't you and Lilith telling me about this mission? Her expression remained serene, but Goku had spent enough time with her to recognize the subtle shift in her stellar patterns that indicated surprise. Your perceptive abilities continue to improve, she acknowledged. There are anomalous readings from the Elysium system. Faint traces of void energy that should not exist in that sector. Likely nothing significant, but worth investigating while we evaluate your field performance. Goku nodded thoughtfully. The void devourer that the ancient texts mention. The entity you and the others sealed before the current universal cycle. Merely echoes, Etheria assured him, though something in her tone suggested less certainty than her words implied. Cosmic background radiation taking forms that superficially resemble void signatures. Still, additional data would be valuable. I'll keep my senses open, Goku promised. He finished packing his minimal gear, mostly unnecessary for someone with his abilities. But maintaining certain mortal habits helped him retain perspective. One final instruction, Etheria said as she prepared to depart. While intervention is permitted, remember the 3 limits. No revealing your true nature. No altering fundamental physical constants. And no attachments that might compromise your return. That last limitation had always puzzled Goku, though he'd never directly questioned it. The concept of attachment remained somewhat theoretical to him, having been raised among beings who experienced emotional states vastly different from mortal feelings. I understand, he confirmed. When do we depart? Now, she replied simply, and reality folded around them. Transition between dimensional planes manifested as a kaleidoscopic tunnel of pure possibility. For beings unaccustomed to such travel, the experience typically shattered sanity. Goku, however, had been trained to navigate conceptual spaces since childhood. He maintained perfect awareness as they pierced through 17-dimensional barriers, each progressively limiting the scope of physical laws. They emerged above a world of breathtaking beauty. Elysium Prime hung in space lit. A jewel of blue oceans and swirling white clouds, its surface dotted with sprawling crystal cities that caught the light of its dying sun. Most striking were the massive floating islands that orbit the planet itself, chunks of land suspended by technologies or forces that Goku couldn't immediately identify. "Welcome to the Astral Kingdoms," Etheria said, her form now compressed into a more conventional appearance that would register as merely extraordinarily beautiful to mortal perception. The last flowering of a 5 million-year civilization, facing extinction within one planetary cycle. Goku absorbed the sight, feeling a strange connection to the world below. "Their sun," he observed. "The core degradation is accelerating. I can see the quantum instability from here." Yes, the IR scientists have calculated precisely 18 months before total stellar collapse. Despite their considerable technological advancement, they lack the means to prevent it or to evacuate their population to another system. Goku frowned thoughtfully. Couldn't they build generation ships? Their technology seems advanced enough. Their physics developed along different lines than most civilizations, Etheria explained. Mastery of gravity manipulation and crystalline technology, but limited understanding of faster-than-light travel. Their attempts at developing evacuation vessels have failed consistently. As they continued their approach, Goku sensed a disturbance, a ripple through the dimensional fabric that felt distinctly wrong. "Did you feel that?" he asked sharply. Etheria nodded, her expression grave. "Void energy, stronger than anticipated. Something on this world is generating dimensional instability." Their descent accelerated, passing through the upper atmosphere. Goku instinctively adjusted his physical composition to accommodate the transition from space to breathable air, a process that had once required conscious effort but now happened automatically. "I'll establish a monitoring position in the adjacent dimensional fold," Etheria informed him. "You will proceed to the surface as planned. Remember your cover identity, a traveler from the outer colonies, seeking knowledge of the central kingdoms. And if I encounter the void source?" Goku asked. "Observe only. Do not engage directly." Her expression softened marginally. "Be careful, Goku. Even with your training, there are forces in this universe that remain beyond your current capacity." With that warning, she shifted sideways through reality, maintaining a presence one-dimensional layer Remo. Ved from the physical world, close enough to observe and intervene if necessary, but not directly perceptible to mortal senses. Goku completed his descent alone, landing gently on an unoccupied mountain top overlooking one of the floating crystal cities. The air felt strange after the perfect atmosphere of the Nexus, thinner, laden with particulates, carrying scents both familiar and alien. The gravity was lighter than he was accustomed to, making him feel as though he might accidentally launch himself into orbit with a careless step. He took a moment to attune himself to this realm's physical constants, adjusting his power output accordingly. The bracelet Etheria had given him pulsed gently, helping stabilize his energy signature to match local parameters. When he felt sufficiently acclimated, Goku began making his way toward the city, following a winding mountain path that suggested regular use. He encountered no one until reaching a roadway of polished crystal that hummed with contained energy. There he saw his first Elysians, humanoid beings with luminescent skin in various opalescent hues, their bodies adorned with intricate crystalline growths that appeared to be both ornamental and functional. They regarded him with obvious surprise. His appearance, while not wildly different from theirs in basic configuration, clearly marked him as foreign. His skin lacked their luminous quality, and his simple GI contrasted sharply with their flowing garments of material that seemed half fabric, half living crystal. "Greetings," he offered in their language, which he had learned through the observation pools. "I seek entrance to your city." The Elysians exchanged glances, their crystal ornaments pulsing with light in patterns that Goku recognized as a form of secondary communication. "Outerworlder," one of them finally responded, her voice musical and resonant. "Your kind rarely travels to the core kingdoms. What brings you to Celestia Primus during the final days?" Goku maintained his cover story. "I am a scholar of dying worlds. I wish to observe how your people face your sun's decay." The bluntness of his statement appeared to shock them, crystal patterns flaring with emotional response. Yet there was no denial, only a resigned acknowledgement. "Truth speaker," said another Elysian, an older male whose crystalline formations were more extensive and complex. The floating paths remain open to all, even as our star dimmer. If knowledge is what you seek in our twilight, you will find no barriers. They gestured toward a platform at the road's end, clearly S. own form of transport to the floating city above. Goku thanked them and proceeded forward, sensing their continued observation as he walked away. The transport platform activated at his approach, sir, rounding him with a bubble of energy that detached from the mountain and began a graceful ascent toward the crystal metropolis above. As he rose, Goku marveled at the engineering involved. The entire floating mass was held aloft by a complex interaction of gravitational fields generated by massive crystal formations extending from the city's underside. Yet even amid this wonder, he could sense ominous, faint but unmistakable vibrations of void energy threading through the crystalline structures. Something was corrupting this world from within, and based on the patterns he detected, it had been happening slowly for centuries. The transport bubble docked at a crystal spire extending from the city's edge, dissolving to allow him entry. Inside, Goku encountered a society in the midst of technological marvel and quiet desperation. The architecture was breathtaking. Soaring towers of living crystal that reconfigured themselves based on need, plazas where gravity shifted direction depending on traffic patterns. Ambient energy that provided light and power to all functions. But beneath the splendor, he sensed resignation. These people knew they were living through their civilization's final chapter. Some responded with hedonistic abandonment, others with intensive scientific effort, many with spiritual contemplation. Goku wandered through public spaces, observing an occasionally engaging in conversation when approached. His obvious foreign nature drew curiosity, particularly from younger Elysians whose crystal formations were still developing. "Is it true the outer colonies have ships that might escape?" asked one hopeful youth, eyes wide with desperate optimism. "I'm afraid not," Goku answered honestly. "The stellar decay affects the entire system." His explorations eventually led him to a vast public forum where a crowd had gathered. At its center stood a woman addressing the assembly, tall and regal, with crystal formations more elaborate and vibrant than any he had yet seen. Unlike the opalescent skin tones of other Elysians, hers held a deep azure luminescence that commanded attention. "The Project Transcendence team reports 70% completion," she announced, her voice carrying effortlessly across the space. "Crystal arc theory has been confirmed in 3 test scenarios. We require only additional quantum resonators to begin final construction." Murmurs spread through the crowd, hope mingled with skepticism. "Princess Terra speaks of theoretical models, not practical salvation," countered an elderly Elysian whose crystals had grown so extensive they nearly obscured his original form. "We have heard promises of arcs and salvation for decades while our sun continues its death spiral." The Azure Woman, Princess Terra, remained composed in the face of criticism. "Chief Scientist Zorax, your own models confirmed the viability of crystalline dimensional folding. Are you now contradicting your research?" "I am emphasizing the gap between theory and implementation," the old scientist replied. "Even if the crystal arc functions as designed, it can transport only 5,000 citizens. Will you choose who lives and who perishes with our world?" The debate continued, growing increasingly technical as various scientific and political factions presented arguments. Goku listened intently, his enhanced comprehension allowing him to follow complex theoretical concepts being discussed. What these people proposed was fascinating. Not conventional space travel, but a form of dimensional translation that would shift a portion of their population into a parallel reality where their sun remained stable. More interesting to Goku, however, was Princess Terra herself. Beyond her striking appearance, he sensed something unique about her energy signature, a harmonic resonance that seemed almost familiar, as though she carried traces of the same cosmic frequencies he had been trained to manipulate. When the forum eventually adjourned, Goku followed his instincts and approached her as the crowd dispersed. Up close, her presence was even more commanding, regal posture combined with the focused intensity of a warrior. The resemblance to Oetheria's bearing was subtle but unmistakable. "Your theory of dimensional folding has merit," he said by way of introduction. "But your quantum calibration equations need refinement if you hope to achieve stable translation." Terra turned sharply, crystal formations flaring with surprise. You understand quantum crystalline theory. Her eyes narrowed with sudden suspicion. No outerworlder has such knowledge. Who are you? Goku smiled disarmingly. Just someone with unusual education. My name is Goku. He deliberately avoided using his cover story, sensing that dishonesty would only increase her suspicion. You're no scholar of dying worlds, she stated flatly. Your energy signature doesn't match any known Elysian subspecies. Explain yourself before I summon the Crystal Guard. Before Goku could respond, a tremor shook the entire floating city. Not a physical earthquake, but a ripple through the dimensional fabric itself. The crystal structures throughout the forum darkened momentarily, vibrating at discordant frequencies that set Goku's teeth on edge. Void pulse, Terra whispered, fear briefly overshadowing her suspicion. The third this week, and stronger than before. Goku's senses expanded, tracking the pulse to its source. It's coming from below the city, he said urgently. Some kind of experimental chamber in the understructure. Terra's expression shifted from fear to shock. How could you possibly know that? The resonance laboratory is shielded from all conventional sensing technologies. Another pulse hit, stronger than the first. Crystal structures T. Throughout the city emitted distressed tones, their harmonics disrupted by the void energy. Several shattered entirely, raining crystalline fragments onto the plaza. I can help, Goku said firmly, dropping all pretense. But we need to reach that laboratory immediately. Whatever they're doing down there is tearing through dimensional barriers that should never be breached. For a moment, Terra hesitated, clearly weighing the risk of trusting a stranger against the immediate crisis. The decision crystallized in her eyes as a third pulse rocked the city, this one accompanied by a sound like reality itself screaming in pain. Follow me, she commanded, turning toward a private transport tube at the forum's edge. But know that if you represent a threat to my people, I will personally ensure you don't leave this city alive. Goku nodded, recognizing the resolve of a true protector. As they rushed toward the source of the dimensional disruption, he couldn't help but feel a growing admiration for this princess who faced extinction with such determined resistance. The transport tube descended rapidly through the city's crystalline infrastructure, bypassing public levels to enter restricted areas. Terra placed her palm against a crystal panel, which pulsed in recognition of her unique energy signature. The resonance laboratory was established 50 years ago to explore alternative salvation methods. She explained as they descended. When conventional evacuation proved impossible, our scientists began investigating dimensional manipulation, ways to either move our population to another reality or modify our sun's quantum structure to reverse its decay. Dangerous approaches, Goku commented. Manipulating fundamental forces without understanding cosmic hierarchies often attracts attention from entities you wouldn't want to meet. Terra gave him a sharp look. You speak from experience. Who exactly are you, Goku? Before he could formulate a response that wouldn't violate his mission parameters. The transport tube shuddered violently. Crystalline walls that had been transparent suddenly darkened, veins of inky blackness spreading through them like infection. We're too late, Terra whispered, horror evident in her voice. The void contamination is spreading through the city's neural crystal network. Goku placed his hand against the darkening crystal, extending his senses into its structure. What he found confirmed his worst fears, conscious malevolence, an intelligence that should not exist in this universe, seeping through a tear in reality. The void entity is attempting to manifest, he said grimly. Your scientists have inadvertently created a summoning conduit. The transport tube lurched to a halt, emergency systems engaging as power fluctuated throughout the structure. Doors slid open to reveal a laboratory in chaos. A massive crystalline apparatus occupied the center of the chamber, surrounded by frantically working scientists. At its core, a swirling vortex of absolute darkness pulsated, expanding with each fluctuation. Shut it down, Terra commanded as she rushed forward. Full emergency protocols. We can't, Your Highness, Res. Ponded a scientist whose crystal formations were actively darkening before their eyes. The resonance has achieved self-sustaining harmonics. The void feeds it now. Goku assessed the situation quickly. The tear was still contained within the crystal apparatus, but its expansion was accelerating. Without intervention, it would engulf the entire city within hours, then the planet itself. He made a decision that he knew might violate his mission parameters, but the alternative was unacceptable. Removing the limiter bracelet Etheria had given him, he stepped forward. "Everyone back away from the apparatus," he ordered, his voice carrying an authority that even Terra responded to instinctively. As the scientists retreated, Goku approached the vortex. Up close, he could feel the ancient Hun Gear emanating from beyond, the Void Devourer, enemy of existence itself, seeking entry through this unwitting invitation. "What are you doing?" Terra demanded, though she made no move to stop him. "Something I was trained for," Goku replied simply. Then, to the void itself, "You're not welcome here." He planted his feet in a stance Lilith had taught him, one specifically designed for dimensional combat. Power surged through him, no longer constrained by the limiter bracelet, rising to levels that caused the air around him to ionize instantly. His aura manifested not as the conventional energy field a mortal might produce, but as layers of reality folding around him, reinforcing the dimensional boundaries the void sought to penetrate. With precisely calculated movements, Goku began weaving a counter-resonance pattern. Each gesture traced sigils in the air that flared with primordial light before sinking into the vortex. The darkness recoiled, emitting a sound beyond hearing that nevertheless conveyed infinite malice. Terra and her scientists watched in stunned silence as this stranger single-handedly confronted a phenomenon their entire civilization had failed to control. The void pulse fought back, tendrils of non-existence lashing out to strike Goku directly. Where they touched, his form momentarily destabilized, not from physical damage, but from fundamental negation of his very being. Goku grimaced but maintained his counter-resonance, each attack requiring additional concentration to repel. "Princess," he called out, voice strained, "I can close the breach, but I need your help stabilizing the crystal matrix. Your energy signature, it's compatible with the harmonic I'm establishing." Terra hesitated only briefly before joining him, guided by instinct rather than understanding. As she added her own energy to his efforts, something remarkable happened. Their signatures synchronized perfectly, amplifying the counter-resonance beyond what either could achieve alone. The vortex contracted violently, fighting against its imminent banishment. In a final desperate assault, it released a pulse of pure void energy that shattered the crystal apparatus and sent everyone in the laboratory flying backward. Goku absorbed the brunt of the blast, shielding Terra with his body. When the chaos subsided, the vortex had vanished, leaving only a perfectly round section of no-N existence in the laboratory floor, matter completely erased rather than destroyed. Silence fell as the emergency lighting stabilized. Terra slowly disengaged from Goku's protective embrace, her expression a complex mixture of gratitude, suspicion, and wonder. "You're no outerworlder," she stated with absolute certainty. "What manner of being possesses such power?" Goku considered his response carefully, aware that Etheria was undoubtedly observing from the adjacent dimensional fold. Complete honesty would violate his mission parameters, but after what they'd just experienced together, Terra deserved some measure of truth. "I come from beyond your universe," he answered simply. "I was sent to observe your world, but authorized to help where possible." He gestured toward the void-erased section of floor. "That entity, what your people encountered, is an ancient enemy of all existence. It found your dimensional experiments and attempted to use them as a gateway." One of the scientists stepped forward hesitantly. "Are you a god?" The question held equal parts fear and hope. Goku smiled, thinking of his true mentors. "No, just someone with different training than yours." He turned back to Terra. "Your Crystal Arc project, it has potential, but your current approach invites further void incursions. I can help you refine it, make it safe." Terra studied him intently, her royal MPO shore returning as the immediate crisis passed. "You offer assistance freely. Why would a being from beyond our universe concern himself with our survival?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Goku replied honestly. The simplicity of his answer seemed to surprise her more than any elaborate explanation could have. After a moment of consideration, she nodded decisively. "The Astral Council must be informed of what happened here. They will want to meet you." Her expression softened slightly. "And I believe we have much to discuss about crystal resonance theory." As they departed the damaged laboratory, Goku sensed Etheria's presence shifting closer, monitoring his interactions. He had clearly exceeded his original mission parameters, but the situation had demanded immediate action. Void entity's attempted manifestation represented a threat far beyond a simple dying star system. Something larger was unfolding, something that connected this distant world to the primordial realms in ways he didn't yet understand. And at the center of it all stood Princess Terra, whose energy signature resonated with cosmic frequencies that should be impossible for a mortal being. Goku led her toward the transport tube that would return them to the upper city, already formulating how to explain these developments to the Cosmic Council. One thing was certain: his first mission to the Mortal realms had taken an unexpected turn, one that would test everything his divine mentors had taught him. Behind them, unnoticed in the chaos of the laboratory, a tiny speck of void darkness remained embedded in a crystal fragment. It pulsed once, very faintly, before going dormant. Waiting. Chapter 2. Realms of Power. The primordial nexus shimmered with unusual activity. Cosmic energies spiraled through dimensional planes as the council convened an emergency session. Goku stood before them, no longer the awestruck child but a warrior who had faced the void directly. The breach was contained, he reported, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. But it wasn't random. The void entity targeted that specific world deliberately. Etheria's form pulsed with concern. The pattern of corruption suggests methodical exploration. The entity seeks weaknesses in dimensional boundaries. More troubling, Chronos interjected, is its focus on the Astral Kingdom's crystal technology. Such resonance matrices could potentially create stable void corridors across multiple universes simultaneously. Lilith moved closer, her chaotic energy unusually subdued. And the princess? Explain again her energy signature. Quote, Goku's expression remained neutral, though memories of Terra's fierce determination flashed through his mind. She carries harmonic patterns similar to Nexus frequencies. Not identical, but reminiscent of us, Etheria finished softly. Unexpected, but not unprecedented. During the ancient cycles, experimental essence was occasionally introduced to developing worlds. Murmurs rippled through the assembly, causing reality to flutter around the edges of perception. Goku sensed undercurrents of information being exchanged beyond his ability to perceive, communications between the primordials that even his advanced training couldn't fully access. Thanos, arbiter of cosmic balance, addressed him directly. Your containment actions were appropriate, though they revealed more of your nature than protocol permits. The situation now requires deeper investigation. The void wastes must be consulted, added Moros, his form shifting between 1,000 possible futures simultaneously. Ancient patterns resurface. We require perspective beyond conventional timelines. I'll return to Elysium immediately, Goku offered. With proper authorization, I can help them refine their crystal arc technology without risking further void incursions. No, Chronos countered firmly. Further direct intervention requires preparation. You will first undergo advanced training in the void wastes. Nyx will guide you. At the mention of this name, a presence manifested that Goku had rarely encountered during his years in the Nexus. Unlike the other primordials whose forms, however exotic, maintained some conceptual consistency, Nyx existed in a state of perpetual becoming. Her appearance shifted continuously between possibilities, sometimes appearing as a woman of impossible beauty. Other times as pure conceptual mathematics, occasionally as nothing at all while still maintaining undeniable presence. The dreamer awakens to necessity, Nyx observed. Her voice simultaneously distant and intimate. Patterns long dormant spiral toward manifestation. The void walker requires perspective beyond sequential causality. Goku bowed respectfully. While he had trained extensively with Etheria and Lilith, Nyx had always remained peripheral to his education, a mysterious entity whose domain of dreams, possibilities, and nonlinear time had been too advanced for his earlier stages of development. The council's decision is unanimous, Thanos declared. Goku will train with Nyx in the void wastes until sufficient mastery is achieved. Upon completion, the Elysium situation will be reassessed. As the assembly dispersed, Lilith approached Goku with uncharacteristic seriousness. The void wastes aren't like our training dimensions, she warned. Reality there isn't merely malleable, it's fundamentally unstable. Even primordials navigate it carefully. I understand, Goku replied, though in truth, the concept of training grounds at even gods approached with caution filled him with anticipation rather than dread. The Saiyan hunger for challenge remained integral to his nature despite years of divine cultivation. Etheria joined them, her stellar patterns reflecting concern. Nyx's teaching methods differ substantially from ours. Where I emphasize harmony and Lilith embraces chaos, Nyx exists beyond such dualities. Her perception transcends conventional causality. She sees all possibilities simultaneously, Lilith elaborated. Past, present, future, and paths untaken, all equally real to her. It makes her difficult to understand sometimes. Goku absorbed their warnings with quiet confidence. I'll adapt. I always have. Indeed you have, Void Walker, came Nyx's voice as she materialized beside them. Today's. He appeared primarily as a woman formed from the night sky itself, stars shining through her form while galaxies spiraled through what might be called her hair. The boundary between is and might be awaits our traversal. With a gesture both precise and impossible, she opened a pathway unlike any Goku had witnessed before. Not the structured dimensional gates Etheria created nor the wild reality fractures Lilith preferred. But something that seemed to exist and not exist simultaneously. Return with perspective expanded, Etheria said by way of farewell. Lilith's goodbye was more direct, a fierce embrace that transferred a spark of her chaotic essence. Don't let the non-reality drive you completely sane, she quipped with a wink. Goku stepped through the threshold alongside Nyx, experiencing a transition so profound it defied conceptualization. Unlike normal dimensional travel which followed established pathways through reality's structure, this journey seemed to slide sideways through possibility itself. They emerged, inadequately described the experience, into a realm that assaulted Goku's senses with paradox. The void waste stretched in all directions, a landscape of pure potential that refused to settle into any fixed state. Mountains formed and unformed with each passing moment. Oceans of liquid time flowed upward into skies that occasionally became solid. Colors existed that had no name, operating on spectrums beyond conventional physics. Welcome to my primary domain, Nyx said, her form now shifting more rapidly between states. Here, between what is and what might be, we will expand your perspective beyond sequential limitation. Goku steadied himself, drawing on years of training to maintain his coherence in this chaos of possibility. What exactly will we be training? He asked, finding that his voice sometimes preceded his thoughts and other times followed them by several moments. Everything, Nyx replied simply. And nothing. He void entity you encountered operates beyond conventional causality. To counter it effectively, you must learn to perceive as it does, across all potentialities simultaneously. She gestured toward a formation that resembled a mountain range one moment and a complex mathematical equation the next. We begin with the simplest exercise. Perceive this object's true nature across all its potential states. Goku focused his attention as he had been taught, expecting to sense the multiple dimensional aspects of the formation as he had learned under Etheria's guidance. Instead, his mind nearly shattered at the infinite possibilities that assaulted his consciousness. The mountain existed in all possible configurations simultaneously, including states where it had never formed, where it had already eroded away, where it consisted of thought rather than matter, where it served as the neural network of a cosmic entity. He staggered backward, momentarily overwhelmed. Interesting, Nyx observed. Your mind attempts linear processing of nonlinear information, a limitation we must transcend. She moved closer, her stellar form briefly stabilizing. Consider instead how your Saiyan combat instincts function, processing multiple attack vectors simultaneously without conscious sequential analysis. The comparison provided Goku with a conceptual foothold. In battle, his body often reacted before his conscious mind registered threats, responding to possibilities rather than confirmed attacks. Perhaps this realm required similar instinctive processing. He tried again, this time allowing his perception to flow rather than focus. Instead of attempting to catalog the mountain's infinite states, he opened himself to experiencing them simultaneously without trying to reconcile contradictions. Gradually, patterns emerged within the chaos, not linear causality but something more complex. He began to sense connections between seemingly contradictory states, threads of continuity woven through the fabric of possibility. Better, Nyx acknowledged. You begin to perceive the meta-pattern beyond individual manifestations. This is how the void entity navigates reality, seeing not what is, but the underlying structure of what could be. Days passed, or perhaps millennia. Time held no consistent meaning in the void wastes. Goku's training progressed from passive perception to active manipulation of possibility. Where Etheria had taught him to strengthen dimensional boundaries and Lilith had shown him to exploit their weaknesses, Nyx instructed him in something far more profound. The art of navigating the spaces between possibilities themselves. Reality is not a single thread, she explained during a rare moment of relative stability, but an infinitely branching tapestry. The void entity moves between the threads, exploiting uncertainty to manifest where barriers are weakest. Goku, now able to maintain coherent thought despite the constantly shifting environment, asked Ed the question that had been forming throughout his training: what exactly is this void entity? The Council archives mention the Void Devourer sealed before the current universal cycle, but contain few specifics. Nyx's form cycled through several manifestations before settling on an appearance of living darkness punctuated by distant stars. The entity exists in opposition to existence itself, not merely destruction, which remains part of the natural cycle, but fundamental negation. It consumes possibility, leaving absence where potential once flourished. But how did it first appear? Where did it come from? An excellent question with multiple contradictory answers, all simultaneously valid, Nyx replied. In some potentialities, it has always existed as existence's shadow. In others, it formed from the collective unconscious fears of sentient life across multiple universes. In yet others, it represents a failed attempt at cosmic rebirth from a previous universal cycle. Goku frowned, finding such ambiguity unsatisfying despite his growing comfort with nonlinear perception. Which answer is true? All. None. The question itself imposes linear constraints on nonlinear phenomena. Nyx's expression shifted to something approximating compassion. Your mind still seeks singular causality. This is both limitation and strength. Your connection to mortal perspective provide insights even primordials sometimes lack. Their training intensified as Goku learned to not merely perceive possibilities but actively navigate between them. He discovered that his Saiyan adaptability provided unexpected advantages. Where pure consciousness might become lost in infinite potential, his physical nature anchored him within the chaos. During one particularly challenging session, Goku practiced projecting his consciousness across multiple potential timelines simultaneously. A disturbance rippled through the void wastes. Nyx's form contracted suddenly, stars within her darkening. Intrusion, she stated, voice uncharacteristically sharp. Hostile intent penetrates the boundary layers. Before Goku could process her warning, reality around them fractured in a manner fundamentally different from the waste's usual fluctuations. Through the fracture poured entities that defied comprehension, not physical beings nor energy constructs but conceptual intrusions that attacked the very idea of their existence. Void servants, Nyx identified, her form expanding to create a buffer zone around Goku. The entity grows bold to send them here. Goku shifted instantly to combat readiness, drawing on both his divine training and Saiyan instincts. The attackers, if such a term applied to ontological contradictions given momentary form, circled them, their bodies, constantly, rewriting themselves into increasingly threatening configurations. They target you specifically, Nyx observed. Your interference at Elysium has drawn attention. The first attack came not as a physical strike but as a negation wave that attempted to retroactively erase Goku's existence from the timeline. His training with Etheria had prepared him for such metaphysical assaults. He countered by reinforcing his existential anchoring, rejecting the proposed revision to reality. The void servants attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously, some targeting his physical form while others attempted to corrupt his consciousness directly. Goku responded with techniques drawn from all his mentors, Etheria's harmonic reinforcement, Lilith's chaotic counterstrikes, and now Nyx's probability manipulation. He no longer merely defended a fixed position in space-time but extended his consciousness across multiple potential states, making himself simultaneously vulnerable and unreachable. When a void servant lunged for what appeared to be his physical form, it encountered only one possibility among many, the actual attack passing harmlessly through potentiality rather than actuality. Impressive adaptation, Nyx commented. her own defense consisting of continuously redefining the attack parameters until they became self-contradictory. You implement nonlinear combat principles instinctively. The battle escalated as more void servants poured through the reality fracture. Goku realized they were attempting to overwhelm his ability to process multiple states simultaneously, a straight GY that might have worked earlier in his training but now played to his developing strengths. Drawing on Lilith's teachings about offensive applications of chaos theory, Goku stopped defending in Diva dual points and instead attacked the pattern underlying the void servant's manifestation. He traced the probability vectors back to their source, the reality fracture itself, and implemented a counter R assonance that caused the intrusion point to collapse upon itself. The void servants, cut off from their sustaining source, began to destabilize. Goku pressed his advantage, using techniques Etheria had taught him to re-establish proper dimensional boundaries throughout the affected area. As the last intrusion faded from existence, Nyx's form stabilized into something more consistently humanoid, her expression contemplative. An assassination attempt, she concluded. Not merely to eliminate you as a threat, but to erase your entire causal chain from the cosmic record. Goku absorbed this information with characteristic calm. They wouldn't have tried unless they feared what I might become. Indeed, your intervention at Elysium prevented a significant incursion. The void entity recognizes your potential to disrupt its larger patterns. Nyx's form shifted slightly, stars within her realigning. This attempt required considerable resource expenditure. We've gained valuable information about its current capabilities and concerns. Do we return to the Council with this information? Goku asked, already anticipating the political ramifications of a direct void attack within proximity to the primordial nexus. Not immediately, Nyx replied. The attack damaged aspects of your causal framework. You require specialized healing before returning to linear dimensions. She opened another impossible pathway. This one leading to a realm Goku had never visited, a domain of pure radiance where light itself seemed alive. Serena's garden awaits. Her expertise in ontological restoration exceeds even Etheria's. Transition to Serena's garden lacked the disorienting quality of entering the void wastes. Instead, Goku experienced a sensation of profound clarity, as though reality itself had been distilled to its purest essence. The environment materialized around them gradually, a landscape that resembled a vast medicinal garden if plants grew from light rather than soil and bloomed with conscious purpose. At the garden's center stood a being whose radiance outshone even her magnificent domain. Where Etheria embodied cosmic harmony and Lilith personified creative chaos, Rena manifested as compassionate restoration, the healing principle of existence given form. Her appearance, while fundamentally as fluid as any primordials, typically resolved into that of a woman with warm golden skin and flowing hair that resembled liquid sunlight. Her eyes contained galaxy spirals similar to Etheria's, but softer, more nurturing in their luminescence. Nyx, she greeted, her voice resonating with harmonics that automatically soothed damaged energy patterns. An unexpected visitation, and you bring the mortal experiment. Her gaze shifted to Goku, assessing him with the precision of a master physician examining a patient. Void incursion within the wastes, Nyx explained. Targeted elimination attempt. His causal framework shows degradation at quantum junction points. Serena's expression grew serious, audacious. Direct attack while under your protection indicates escalating desperation. She approached Goku, radiant energy extending from her hands to surround him in diagnostic patterns. The damage penetrates multiple existential layers. Healing requires comprehensive realignment. Goku felt no pain from the void attack. Such simplistic sensations had no relevance to injuries inflicted on the fabric of one's very existence. Yet he sensed the wrongness Serena identified, a subtle dissonance in his connection to reality itself. Can it be repaired? He asked, practical as always despite the metaphysical nature of his condition. Serena's laugh reminded him of sunrise over mountain valleys, warm, bright, and full of promise. Dear one, I restore stars to their proper fusion cycles and realign cosmic constants when universal expansion causes harmonic fluctuations. Your condition, while serious by mortal standards, presents no significant challenge. She gestured toward a crystalline formation that resembled a flowering lotus if such blossoms were composed of living light. Rest here. The regenerative matrix will stabilize your immediate existential parameters while I prepare the full treatment protocol. As Goku settled into the indicated structure, he felt his consciousness expanding into a state of perfect equilibrium. The lotus responded to his unique energy signature, adjusting its resonance to complement his specific needs. I must return to the wastes, Nyx informed Serena. Boundary repairs require attention to prevent further incursions. Of course, Serena acknowledged. I'll send notification when restoration completes. As Nyx departed through another probability fold, Serena turned her full attention to Goku. Now then, let's examine exactly what our void friends attempted. Her healing process differed fundamentally from conventional medical treatment. Rather than addressing symptoms or specific damage, Saren worked directly with the underlying pattern of Goku's existence, the metaphysical template that defined his being across all dimensions and potential states. Fascinating, she murmured as her diagnostic energies mapped his existential framework. They targeted junction points between your Saiyan biological matrix and the divine modifications imparted through primordial training. Quite sophisticated. Is that unusual? Goku asked, finding that conversation helped him maintain focus despite the expansive consciousness the lotus induced. Extremely. Void entities typically attack through BR/OAD spectrum negation, essentially trying to erase chunks of reality indiscriminately. This approach shows precise understanding of your specific existential architecture. Her expression grew troubled. It suggests information leakage from sources with intimate knowledge of your development. The implication hung between them. Someone with access to the primordial nexus might be feeding information to the void entity. The possibility of betrayal among the primordial gods themselves seemed inconceivable, yet Serena's evidence pointed toward that disturbing conclusion. We should inform the council immediately, Goku suggested. Serena's response was measured. Not until you're fully restored. Moreover, accusations of such magnitude require absolute certainty. Her hands traced complex patterns above his resting form, golden energy flowing from her fingers to repair quantum inconsistencies throughout his being. For now, focus on healing. Political implications can wait. The restorative process continued for what might have been days or weeks. Time in Serena's garden followed cycles of healing necessity rather than conventional chronology. During this period, Goku came to appreciate the unique perspective Serena brought to existence. Where Etheria viewed reality through the lens of harmonic order and Lilith through creative destruction, Serena perceived the underlying patterns of renewal that connected all things. Every ending contains the seed of beginning, she explained during one treatment session. The void entity cannot comprehend this fundamental truth, which is why it can never ultimately prevail. Negation itself becomes the catalyst for new creation. As the healing progressed, Goku found himself increasingly drawn to Serena's compassionate wisdom. Unlike his other mentors whose cosmic perspectives sometimes created emotional distance, Serena combined vast power with genuine nurturing presence. You've had unusual development even by primordial experimental standards, she observed while adjusting his quantum resonance patterns. Raised from infancy among cosmic entities, yet retaining core aspects of your Saiyan nature. The integration should have been impossible. I never thought about it being impossible, Goku replied with characteristic simplicity. I just adapted to each challenge as it came. Serena's laugh cascaded like gentle rain. Precisely why you succeeded where theoretical models predicted failure. You never perceived limitations others would have accepted as absolute. Her expression grew thoughtful. This same quality makes you uniquely dangerous to the void entity. Where others see immutable boundaries between existence and non-existence, you perceive permeable membranes that can be navigated or reconfigured. On what marked the final day of treatment, as Goku's existential pattern achieved perfect restoration, a dimensional ripple announced an arrival. Etheria materialized within the garden, her stellar form more agitated than Goku had ever witnessed. Urgent developments, she announced without preamble. The Elysium situation has deteriorated rapidly. Void corruption spreads throughout their crystal matrix. Princess Terra requests immediate assistance. Serena frowned, completing a final stabilizing sequence before allowing the lotus formation to recede. His restoration just completed. Dimensional transition stress could reopen quantum fractures. I'm fine, Goku insisted, rising to his feet with the fluid grace that characterized his movements. His power had not merely returned to previous evils but seemed enhanced by Serena's healing arts, his energy signature resonating with new harmonic depths. The timing cannot be coincidental, Etheria noted. The void entity accelerates its IUM strategy immediately following a failed assassination attempt. Agreed, Serena said, her healer's detachment giving way to strategic concern. This suggests coordinated action across multiple fronts, a significant escalation from previous patterns. Goku's expression hardened with resolve. Terra and her people need help now. Political implications can be addressed afterward. Etheria nodded, though concern remained evident in her stellar patterns. The Council has authorized your return to Elysium with expanded intervention parameters. I am to accompany you directly rather than monitor from dimensional proximity. I will join you, Serena declared unexpectedly. When both Goku and Etheria turned to her in surprise, she added, the void corruption will create existential injuries beyond conventional healing. My expertise will be required. The Council didn't authorize, Etheria began. I don't require Council authorization to fulfill my function, Serena interrupted with gentle firmness. Healing transcends political constraints. The tension between them reflected ancient divisions within the primordial hierarchy, Etheria's adherence to cosmic order versus Serena's devotion to necessary restoration regardless of protocol. Goku had observed similar philosophical conflicts between the primordials throughout his upbringing, though rarely with such immediate practical implications. We'll need all the help available, he interceded diplomatically. If the situation's as serious as you've indicated, Etheria, Serena's healing abilities could make the difference for countless lives. After a moment's consideration, Etheria conceded with a graceful nod. Your perspective has merit. Unified approach increases success probability. She extended her hand, Cosme. See energy gathering around her fingers as she prepared to open a dimensional passage. We depart immediately. As the gateway formed, a precisely calibrated tunnel through dimensional planes, Goku sensed something unusual about its configuration. This isn't routed through the nexus, he observed. Correct, Etheria confirmed. Direct traversal to minimize transition time and reduce visibility to certain council factions. The implication was clear. The suspected information leak made standard protocols potentially dangerous. Goku exchanged a meaningful glance with Serena, whose slight nod confirmed shared concerns about potential betrayal within the primordial hierarchy. Together, the three beings stepped into the dimensional passage, each bringing unique cosmic strengths to the impending confrontation. As they traversed the interstitial spaces between realities, Goku prepared himself mentally for reunion with Princess Terra under far more dire circumstances than their parting. Elysium Prime had transformed in the brief period of Goku's absence. As they emerged from the dimensional passage onto one of the floating crystal cities, the devastation was immediately apparent. Once translucent structures now displayed veins of absolute darkness spreading like infection through their crystalline matrices. The vibrant blue-white energy that had powered the civilization flickered erratically, failing completely in sections where void corruption had progressed furthest. Most disturbing was the effect on the Elysians themselves. Citizens whose luminescent skin had glowed with opalescent vitality now exhibited patches of darkness that seemed to consume light rather than emit it. Some wandered aimlessly, their crystal formations dulled and cracked. Others had collapsed entirely, their forms partially translucent as though their very existence was being erased incrementally. Systematic ontological corruption, Serena assessed grimly. The void entity doesn't merely destroy, it converts. Each infected pattern becomes a further transmission vector. Etheria's form contracted with concern. Spread rate exceeds projected models by approximately 270%. Dimensional boundary integrity throughout the system shows critical degradation. Goku scanned the devastation with senses expanded beyond normal perception. The void corruption followed distinct patterns, concentrating around major crystal nodes that regulated the city's fundamental systems. It's targeting their infrastructure strategically, he observed. Not random destruction but methodical conversion of their power grid. To what end? Serena wondered aloud. Pure void entities seek only negation. This displays purpose. Before either Etheria or Goku could respond, a familiar azure glow approached rapidly from a nearby crystal spire. Princess Terra, accompanied by a small contingent of guards whose crystal armor showed advanced protective enchantments, moved toward them with urgent purpose. "You returned," she stated upon reaching them, relief briefly softening her regal bearing. Unlike many of her people, Terra showed no signs of void corruption. Her azure luminescence remained pure and vibrant. "And you brought others. Allies," Goku confirmed. "Etheria and Serena possess knowledge and abilities crucial to countering the void corruption." Terra studied the two primordials with the shrewd assessment of a leader accustomed to evaluating potential allies. Though they had assumed forms that appeared merely as extraordinarily beautiful women to accommodate mortal perception, Anything in Terra's gaze suggested she perceived more of their true nature than should be possible. "Your timing is fortunate," she said finally. "Our last defensive perimeter will fail within hours. Crystal core chambers have been compromised, and with them, our ability to maintain gravitational stability for the floating cities." "How many citizens remain unaffected?" Serena asked, her healer's instincts immediately focusing on the living rather than infrastructure. "Approximately 30%, Terra replied grimly. "We've evacuated the uninfected to the central citadel where our ALDS crystal formations still resist corruption. The infected," her voice faltered momentarily. "We've been unable to halt the progression once it begins. Within 48 hours of initial symptoms, the victim's consciousness dissolves completely." "I need to examine one immediately," Serena declared. "Proper treatment protocols require direct analysis of the corruption mechanism." Terra nodded to one of her guards, who departed immediately to arrange the examination. "Our scientists have established a secure laboratory in the Citadel's heart. I'll escort you there personally." She turned to Goku with an intensity that transcended mere desperation. "The Crystal Arc project has been accelerated. With the modifications you suggested before your departure, we've achieved 89% theoretical stability." "That's remarkable progress," Goku acknowledged, genuinely impressed by the Elysian's adaptive capabilities under extreme pressure. "Necessity drives innovation," Terra replied simply. "When extinction looms, conventional development cycles become luxury." As they proceeded toward the central citadel, moving through transportation tubes that had been reinforced against void corruption, Etheria maintained continuous dimensional scanning. "The boundary fractures originated from multiple points simultaneously," she reported. "This was not merely expansion of the original laboratory breach. Coordinated external attack," Goku concluded. "The void entity located every potential weakness in Elysium's dimensional membrane and exploited them simultaneously." Terra's expression darkened. 3 days ago, our long-range sensors detected anomalous energy signatures throughout the system. Before we could properly analyze them, the corruption began spreading from 17 distinct origin points. Our outer settlements were overwhelmed within hours. The Citadel came into view as their transport tube emerged from the city's infrastructure, a massive crystalline structure that dominated the center of the floating metropolis. Unlike the elegant, almost delicate architecture that characterized most Elysian construction, the Citadel featured angular, fortress-like geometry. Ancient, crystal formations pulsed with deep blue light, their structures predating the more modern matrix by millennia. "The first formation," Terra explained as they approached, "created by the astral Ansas. Tours when they first achieved stellar ascension. Its crystalline lattice was encoded with foundational protection principles that even the void corruption struggles to overcome." Upon reaching the Citadel's entrance, they were met by Chief Scientist Zorax, the elderly Elysian Goku had observed debating Terra during his previous visit. The scientist's extensive crystal formations remained untainted by darkness, though his expression carried the weight of witnessing widespread devastation. "Princess," he greeted with a formal gesture before turning curious eyes toward the visitors. "Our sensors detected your arrival. Your energy signatures register as problematic for our classification systems. Their nature transcends conventional categorization," Terra explained diplomatically. "They possess knowledge critical to combating the void corruption." Zorax's crystalline formations pulsed with what Goku had learned to recognize as skepticism, but he nodded acceptance. "At this juncture, unorthodox assistance is preferable to noble extinction. Please follow me to the research chamber." The interior of the Citadel revealed even more ancient crystal technology, living matrices that responded to presence with subtle adjustments to environmental conditions. Unlike the more modern elision systems which utilized programmed responses, these ancestral formations appeared to possess a form of sentience, evaluating and reacting to stimuli with discerning intelligence. Fascinating, Etheria observed, her scientist's curiosity momentarily overriding strategic concerns. These Formadio NS implement seventh-dimensional crystalline consciousness. Such technology was thought lost after the Lumerian collapse. Zorax paused, surprised by her specific knowledge. You are familiar with ancestral crystallography. Our historical records indicate the principles were unique to early elision development. Knowledge flows through many channels across the cosmic tapestry, Etheria replied diplomatically. Careful not to reveal too much about primordial oversight of developing civilizations. They reached a sealed chamber deep within the Citadel's core. Multiple security protocols active. Aided as Zorax and Terra presented authentication simultaneously, their unique energy signatures combining to unlock ancient safeguards. The ancestral vault, Terra explained as massive crystal doors slid open with surprising silence. Converted to our primary research facility after the corruption began. Its protective matrices predate our modern understanding. We can analyze the void infection here without risking further spread. Inside, a team of scientists worked frantically at stations that blended ancient crystal technology with modern instrumentation. At the chamber's center, contained within multiple layers of protective fields, floated a section of corrupted crystal approximately 2 meters in diameter. Veins of absolute darkness pulsed within it, seeming to consume the surrounding crystalline structure incrementally. More disturbing was an adjacent containment field housing an elision in advanced stages of corruption. Once luminescent skin now displayed more darkness than light. The being's crystal formations almost completely blackened. The victim's eyes remained open but unseeing, occasionally emitting brief flashes of desperate consciousness before subsiding into vacant darkness. Serena moved immediately toward this containment field, her healer's instincts superseding all other considerations. How long since initial infection? She asked the attending scientist. 39 hours, came the somber reply. Terminal phase began approximately 4 hours ago. We estimate complete consciousness dissolution within the next 6 hours. Serena's form briefly Florida, read with compassionate determination as she extended her perceptive abilities into the containment field. The corruption operates on 17 distinct ontological layers simultaneously, she reported. Conventional healing approaches would address merely the symptomatic manifestations rather than the foundational negation. Can you help them? Terra asked, her regal composure briefly giving way to genuine anguish for her suffering subject. Instead of answering directly, Serena closed her eyes in deep concentration. Her form began to radiate golden light that penetrated the containment field, surrounding the infected elision with healing essence. Unlike normal medical energy which might attempt to destroy the corruption directly, Serena's approach implemented fundamental pattern reinforcement, strengthening the victim's existential template against erasure. The chamber fell silent as everyone witnessed her work. Gradually, impossibly, the darkness consuming the elision began to recede, not disappearing entirely but contracting to isolated points rather than spreading veins. The victim's eyes cleared momentarily, consciousness returning with visible confusion. The corruption can be contained, Serena announced, maintaining her healing resonance. Not reversed completely. The void leaves permanent quantum scarring, but progression can be halted and partial recovery achieved. Hope visibly surged through the assembled elisions. Zorax stepped forward, his scientific detachment momentarily abandoned. This defies all our theoretical models. The void corruption rewrites fundamental existential parameters. By all our understanding, such changes should be irreversible. Your understanding is limited to three-dimensional causality, Serena explained gently. The healing does not reverse the corruption but rather reinforces the victim's original pattern at a level preceding the corruption's influence, essentially anchoring their existence to its uncorrupted template. Why? La Serena continued her healing demonstration. Goku and Etheria turned their attention to the corrupted crystal sample. Etheria extended her perceptive abilities into its structure, analyzing the corruption's propagation mechanics. The void entity has evolved its methodology, she observed with scientific precision that couldn't quite mask underlying concern. Previous manifestations operated through direct dimensional breaches. This approach implements viral propagation through existing crystal matrices. Goku studied the darkness pulsing within the crystal, perceiving layers of reality that ordinary vision couldn't access. It's using their own technology against them. The resonance properties that allow their crystals to store and transmit energy also make perfect conduits for void propagation. Precisely. Zorax confirmed, joining their analysis. Our entire civilization is built upon crystal resonance technology. Transportation, communication, energy distribution, all utilize the same fundamental frequencies. Once the corruption breached our primary matrix, it gained access to our entire infrastructure. Terra, who had been conferring with other officials, rejoined them with renewed determination. The Crystal Arc project remains our only viable evacuation option. But with the accelerating corruption, we have perhaps 48 hours before critical systems fail completely. Show me your current design. Goku requested. I may be able to suggest further refinements based on what we've learned about the corruption's propagation methods. The princess led them to an adjacent chamber where a holographic model displayed the Crystal Arc's schematics. The design had evolved significantly since Goku's previous visit, now featuring a massive crystalline vessel shaped like a elongated diamond. Its internal structure composed of interlocking resonance chambers designed to create a self-contained dimensional pocket. We've implemented the harmonic stabilization protocols you suggested, Terra explained, activating various display overlays that showed energy flow patterns throughout the structure. The dimensional folding calculations now account for void resistance factors. Goku examined the design with expanded perception, noting both its brilliance and its remaining vulnerabilities. The basic architecture is sound, but your dimensional anchoring needs reinforcement. The void entity will target transition boundaries during activation. Working together, they began refining the Crystal Arc's defensive systems. Goku contributed principles-derived F-ROM his primordial training while carefully avoiding technologies beyond appropriate developmental stages for the Elysians. Etheria occasionally provided subtle suggestions disguised as questions. He helping guide the design toward greater stability without directly revealing advanced cosmic knowledge. Hours passed in focused collaboration. Serena, having established treatment protocols for infected Elysians, joined their efforts, contributing insights on maintaining biological integrity during dimensional transition. The Elysian scientists, initially cautious toward these strange outsiders, dually recognized the value of their expertise. As they worked, Goku found himself increasingly impressed by Terra's capabilities. Despite lacking formal training in cosmic principles, her intuitive understanding of crystalline dimensional mechanics approached genius level. Several times she anticipated his suggestions before he voiced them, implementing solutions that elegantly bridged the gap between Elysian technology and the advanced concepts he introduced. Your grasp of resonance harmonics is remarkable, he commented during a brief respite as simulations processed their latest modifications. Some of these applications would challenge even advanced practitioners of known. Terra's azure luminescence brightened slightly, the Elysian equivalent of a blush. Crystal manipulation has always come naturally to me. The royal lineage carries stronger connection to the ancestral resonance patterns. She hesitated before adding, though I suspect my affinity exceeds typical hereditary transmission. I've sometimes perceived aspects of crystal structures that others cannot, patterns beneath patterns. This confirmed what Goku and the Primordials had already suspected. Terra's unique RGY signature reflected more than conventional genetic inheritance. Something in her fundamental composition resonated with cosmic frequencies normally inaccessible to mortal beings. Their work continued until a sudden alarm shattered the chamber's focused atmosphere. Display screens throughout the research facility flared with warning indicators as the Citadel's protective matrix registered multiple boundary breaches. Void surge approaching critical threshold, announced an automated system. Outer defensive perimeters compromised. Estimated penetration of Central Citadel, 27 minutes. Terra immediately shifted from scientist to military commander, accessing communication channels to coordinate defensive responses. All security units to designated containment positions. Civi. Lien evacuation to inner sanctuary chambers. Research teams initiate emergency protocol 7. Zorax approached with urgent purpose. Princess, the Crystal Arc remains at 92% completion. The Power Systems require final calibration before activation sequence can initiate. How long? she demanded. Minimum 6 hours for safe implementation. Attempting acceleration risks catastrophic resonance cascade. Goku exchanged glances with Etheria and Serena, a silent communication passing between them. The situation had deteriorated beyond Elysian capacity to resolve independently. Further primordial intervention, while politically complicated, had become necessary to prevent complete annihilation of a civilization that had achieved remarkable development. We need to buy time, Goku stated, decision crystallizing in his mind. I'll reinforce the outer boundaries directly while you complete the arc's preparations. Such intervention exceeds authorized parameters, Etheria noted, though. Her tone suggested reluctant agreement with the necessity. The parameters became irrelevant when the void entity escalated to full-scale invasion, Goku countered. This is no longer about Observa. Chion or limited assistance, it's existential defense against a threat that concerns all realities. Serena nodded support. I concur. The situation warrants exceptional measures. I will continue treating critical cases to maintain sufficient population for evacuation. After brief consideration, Etheria relented. Logical assessment. I will assist with final crystal arc calibrations. My expertise in dimensional boundary mechanics should accelerate completion timeline. Terra, who had been following their exchange with keen attention despite the chaos unfolding around them, addressed Goku directly. Whatever you're planning, you'll need local guidance through our city's defensive grid. I'll accompany you. Princess, Zorax protested immediately, your presence is essential to the arc activation. The royal genetic key can be initialized before departure and maintained in stasis, she countered firmly. You know the activation protocols as well as I do, chief scientist. The people need leadership now, not mere symbolic presence. The conviction in her voice brooked no further argument. As emergency preparations continued around them, Terra led Goku toward the Citadel's upper L. Evils where they could access the defensive grid's primary control nexus. Your friends, Terra commented as they hurried through ancient crystal corridors. They're like you, not merely outworlders something far beyond conventional classification. Goku considered how much to reveal, weighing mission parameters against practical necessity. They're mentors of a sort. Beings with greater understanding of the forces currently threatening your world. Gods, Terra stated matter-of-factly. Or something functionally equivalent. Our ancestral texts speak of entities beyond mortal comprehension. Scion who occasionally intervene in cosmic affairs. Her azure gaze fixed on him with penetrating intensity. Which makes you complicated, Goku replied with a slight smile. Neither fully what they are nor what your people are. Something in between. This answer, while vague, seemed to satisfy her immediate curiosity as they reached the defensive nexus, a massive crystalline chamber where Citadel's protective systems could be monitored and adjusted. Unlike modern control rooms with conventional interfaces, this ancient facility operated through direct consciousness integration. Cries. Tall formations designed for neural linkage extended from central platforms. The ancestral defense grid operates on principles modern Elysians only partially understand, Terra explained, approaching one of the integration platforms. It was designed to repel conventional threats, invasive energies, hostile entities, even certain forms of radiation. Void corruption exceeds its design parameters. Maybe not, Goku suggested, studying the ancient system with expanded perception. These formations implement ninth-dimensional lattice configurations. Properly attuned, they should provide effective barriers against void penetration. Terra looked surprised. Our most advanced theoretical models only recognize 7-dimensional crystalline structures. Are you saying the ancestors understood principles beyond our current science? Many ancient civilizations accessed knowledge that later generations forgot or simplified, Goku explained diplomatically. Your ancestors appears to have understood dimensional mechanics at a more fundamental level than your current scientific framework acknowledges. Without further explanation, he approached one of the integration platforms. The crystal formations responded to his proximity, extending connective tendrils toward him. When he placed his hands upon the central node, an immediate resonance established between his energy signature and the ancient defense system. The connection nearly overwhelmed him with sudden informational influx. The defensive grid extended throughout not just the Citadel but the entire network of floating cities, implementing protective algorithms of stunning complexity. Yet as he had suspected, the system operated at reduced capacity. Modern elisions had maintained only the functions they understood, leaving more advanced capabilities dormant. Terra joined him at an adjacent platform, establishing her own connection. Through the crystal matrix, their consciousnesses linked indirectly, allowing collaborative manipulation of the defensive systems. Her familiarity with elision protocols complemented his deeper understanding of dimensional mechanics. "I see what you meant," she acknowledged as awareness of the system's true capabilities unfolded through their shared connection. These configurations, they're designed to operate across multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. Our modern interpretations barely scratched the surface. Working in concert, they began reactivating dormant defensive protocols. Goku guided Terra through conceptual frameworks beyond conventional elision understanding. While she navigated the cultural encoding that protected ancient systems from unauthorized activation. Together they initiated a systematic reconfiguration of the entire defensive grid. Throughout the floating cities, ancient crystal formations that had remained decorative for generations suddenly flared with renewed purpose. Protective fields extended not merely in physical space but across dimensional boundaries, reinforcing reality against void intrusion. The corruption's advance slowed noticeably as previously vulnerable systems received unexpected fortification. "It's working," Terra observed, azure luminescence brightening with renewed hope. "The void surge has decreased by 63%. Estimated penetration timeline extended to several hours." "This is only temporary," Goku cautioned. "We're not eliminating the corruption, just slowing its advance. The void entity will adapt its approach once it recognizes the defense pattern." Even as he spoke, sensors throughout the network detected changing corruption behaviors. Where the darkness had previously spread through direct contact with crystal structures, it now began manifesting in isolated points behind defensive RRIERS, the void entity testing different penetration vectors. "We need to implement random frequency variations in the barrier harmonics," Goku suggested. "Predictable defense patterns become vulnerabilities against an adaptive adversary." Terra nodded agreement, already adjusting control parameters to introduce controlled chaos into the defense grid's operation. Her intuitive understanding of Eastal harmonics allowed precise manipulations that maintained overall integrity while preventing pattern prediction. As they worked in synchronized effort, Goku became increasingly aware of something unusual in Terra's energy signature. The resonance between her consciousness and the ancient crystal matrix exceeded normal operational parameters. The system responded to her not merely as an authorized user but as something approaching a fundamental component. The connection seemed almost genetic, as though her very being carried coding that matched the ancestral technology. "The royal lineage," he ventured during a brief pause in their defensive adjustments. "Your connection to these systems isn't just trained familiarity, is it?" Terra hesitated before responding. "According to our oldest traditions, the first astral monarchs weren't merely rulers but awakened ones, beings who could perceive and manipulate crystal resonance at its fundamental level. Each generation diluted this ability until only traces remained." Her expression grew contemplative. "In me, for reasons neither our historians nor geneticists fully understand, the ancestral connection remanifested at unprecedented strength." This confirmed Goku's growing suspicion. Terra carried genetic markers that resonated with cosmic frequencies normally inaccessible to mortal beings. Such modifications couldn't have emerged through natural evolution, suggesting deliberate intervention in Elysium's distant past. Their defensive efforts continued for hours, constantly adapting to the void entity's evolving penetration attempts. Through the crystal network, they received updates on the crystal ark's completion progress. Etheria's expertise had indeed accelerated the calibration process significantly. The evacuation vessel now stood at 97% readiness with final systems coming online. Just as their countermeasures seemed to be maintaining effective containment, a massive surge of void energy struck the defensive grid. He attacked targeted not random weaknesses but the specific frequency patterns they had recently implemented, suggesting not merely adaptation but strategic analysis of their defensive algorithms. "Impossible," Terra gasped as sections of the grid collapsed under precisely calculated assault. "It's not just adapting to our patterns, it's anticipating our countermeasures before implementation." Goku's expression hardened as realization dawned. It's reading our defensive strategies through the crystal network itself. The void corruption has achieved sufficient integration with your systems to monitor our responses in real time. A new alarm sounded, this one more urgent than previous warnings. Display projections showed a concentrated void manifestation approaching the Citadel's central core from below, bypassing outer defenses through maintenance channels in the crystal infrastructure. It's targeting the crystal arc directly, Terra realized with horror. If it corrupts the evacuation vessel before activation. They disengaged from the defensive platforms simultaneously, both recognizing the need for direct intervention. As they rushed toward the chamber housing the nearly completed crystal arc, Goku sensed a disturbance in the dimensional fabric surrounding the Citadel, something more ominous than the corruption they'd been fighting. The void entity isn't merely sending corruption through existing breaches, he informed Terra as they navigated rapidly through crystal corridors. It's attempting to manifest a direct presence within your reality. Terra's expression reflected her grasp of this escalation's significance. Not just destroying our world but invading it. Using our crystal technology as both conduit and physical anchor. They reached the arc chamber to find chaos unfolding. The massive crystalline vessel, now fully constructed and pulsing with activation energy, stood at the chamber's center surrounded by protective fields. Around it, Elysian scientists worked frantically to complete final calibrations while Etheria supervised the dimensional anchoring process. At the chamber's far end, darkness poured through a breach in the floor, not merely void sea eruption but something more substantial, a semi-physical manifestation of absolute negation taking coherent form. Serena stood before it, golden healing energy extended in a barrier that prevented darkness from advancing further into the chamber. The entity attempts direct manifestation, Etheria reported, her form maintaining calm efficiency despite the crisis. Serena contains the immediate breach, but multiple secondary penetration points are developing throughout the Citadel. Zorax approached with urgent news. Crystal Arc activation sequence initiated. Dimensional fold will commence in approximately 20 minutes. All uninfected citizens are proceeding to boarding chambers. We need to hold the entity back until the arc completes its dimensional transition, Goku stated. Already moving toward Serena's position to reinforce her containment efforts. Terra grabbed his arm, stopping him momentarily. The royal genetic key, I must integrate with the arc's control matrix to complete the activation sequence. Her expression reflected both determination and regret at their imminent separation. Whatever happens, know that my people will remember what you've done here today. Without waiting for response, she hurried toward the Ark's primary control nexus where a crystal formation awaited royal integration. Goku turned his attention to the void manifestation, joining Arena in containment efforts as the darkness continued attempting to push through her golden barrier. Its penetration capabilities exceed previous encounters, Serena informed him as he added his own energy to the containment field. This isn't merely a tendril of the entity but a directed avatar, a focused projection of its consciousness. The void manifestation grew more substantial with each passing moment, developing features that mockingly resembled humanoid form while remaining fundamentally alien, a darkness that absorbed all light, all hope, all possibility. Where it touched the chamber floor, reality itself seemed to dissolve, leaving perfect absence in its wake. Etheria joined them, having completed her work on the Ark's dimensional anchoring. The evacuation vessel will achieve transition in 16 minutes. We must maintain containment until complete dimensional translation occurs. The three primordials, even in their power-limited forms, created a formidable defensive line against the encroaching darkness. Serena's golden healing light reinforced existence itself against negation. Etheria's stellar energies maintained dimensional boundaries against corruption. Goku, drawing on training from both mentors plus Lilith and Nyx, implemented adaptive countermeasures that anticipated the entity's penetration attempts. Behind them, the crystal arc hummed with increasing power as its activation sequence progressed. Terra remained integrated with the control nexus, her azure luminescence flaring brightly as she channeled the royal genetic key that would complete the vessel's dimensional programming. Just as containment appeared sustainable, a disturbance rippled through the chamber, not from the void manifestation they confronted but from a new breach opening directly behind the arc itself. Through this secondary portal poured darkness that immediately attacked the evacuation vessel's power systems. Secondary manifestation, Etheria identified with rare alarm. The entity divided its consciousness to implement flanking strategy. Goku made an instant decision. Maintain primary containment. I'll handle the secondary breach. Without waiting for acknowledgement, he disengaged from their united defense and launched himself toward the new threat. The secondary void manifestation had already attached itself to the Ark's crystal matrix, corruption spree, adding rapidly through its structural components. Goku channeled energy through his body, implementing techniques Nyx had taught him in the void wastes, not merely opposing the corruption but navigating between its possibility states to disrupt its fundamental pattern. The darkness recoiled momentarily, its spread halting as Goku's counter-resonance disrupted its propagation algorithms. Taking advantage of this brief reprieve, he extended his consciousness into the Ark's crystal structure, isolating corrupted sections and implementing harmonic barriers around critical systems. From her position at the control nexus, Terra coordinated with his efforts, redirecting power flows away from compromised sections while maintaining the activation sequence's integrity. Their consciousnesses linked through the crystal matrix, achieving synchronization that allowed seamless collaborative defense. Dimensional fold initiating in 7 minutes, announced an automated system. All personnel complete evacuation protocols immediately. The void entities, perhaps sensing the imminent escape of their intended prey, redoubled their assault. The primary manifestation pushed against Serena and Etheria's containment with renewed fury, while the secondary breach Goku confronted began spawning multiple corruption vectors simultaneously. It's attempting to overwhelm our defensive capacity through distributed attack, Goku realized. The strategy was disturbingly sophisticated, more like military tactics than the blind consumption typical of void entities. This further confirmed his suspicion that something was guiding the entity's actions with strategic intelligence. As he maintained defense against the spreading corruption, Goku became aware of a disturbing development at the primary breach. The void manifestation had begun assuming more defined form, features emerging from the darkness that seemed deliberately crafted to inspire terror. Not random patterns but calculated psychological warfare. More concerning, it had begun speaking, not with conventional sound but through direct conceptual intrusion into the minds of everyone present. The words carried the cold emptiness of absolute negation. Your resistance is temporary. All paths lead to dissolution. Serena's golden light flared brighter in response. Ignore its psychological manipulations. The entity attempts to distract from our containment efforts. The voice continued, its conceptual intrusion bypassing conventional defensive measures. The experiment fails. The mortal vessel cannot contain primordial essence indefinitely. This statement, clearly directed at Goku himself, carried disturbing implications. Knowledge of his unique status as a mortal trained by primordials should not be accessible to a conventional void entity. Such specific information suggested either direct observation of the primordial nexus or inside intelligence. Activation sequence entering final phase, the automated system announced. Dimensional fold commences in 3 minutes. The crystal ark's resonance reached crescendo, the entire vessel vibrating at frequencies that bridged dimensional boundaries. Terra remained integrated with the control nexus, her consciousness guiding the impossibly complex translations that would soon transport the vessel and its passengers to safety. The void manifestations, perhaps recognizing the imminent failure of their invasion, implemented a final desperate strategy. Both breaches suddenly contracted, darkness withdrawing as though in retreat. Before anyone could react to this apparent victory, the void energy redirected in concentrated burst, not toward the Ark or the primordials, but directly at Terra herself. Goku moved with speed that defied conventional physics, interposing himself between Terra and the void attack. The darkness struck him with concentrated negation, attempting to erase his existence from reality itself. His form destabilized momentarily, cosmic training and Serena's recent healing battling against fundamental dissolution. Through sheer will reinforced by Saiyan resilience, he maintained coherence long enough for Serena to extend her healing energies toward him. Golden light surrounded his fluctuating form, reinforcing existential patterns against the void's erasure attempt. 1 minute to dimensional translation, the system announced. Final sequence locked. Terra, despite the attack directed at her, maintained her integration with the control nexus. Her azure luminescence had dimmed noticeably from the strain, but determination kept her calm. Sheasness focused on completing the activation sequence. The void entities, having failed in their direct assault, began a systematic withdrawal, darkness receding from the chamber even as corruption continued spreading throughout the citadel's outer sections. This tactical retreat carried more ominous implications than continued attack. The entity was preserving its resources for future confrontation rather than expending them in a losing battle. 30 seconds to translation, the system counted down. All systems functioning within acceptable parameters. As the final moments approached, Etheria addressed Goku and Serena with urgent purpose. We must withdraw immediately. Remaining within translation radius during dimensional fold would return us to the Nexus prematurely. Serena nodded agreement, already moving toward the chamber's edge beyond the activation field. Goku, however, hesitated, his gaze fixed on Terra, who remained integrated with the control nexus. Her eyes met his across the chamber, conveying complex emotions that transcended their brief acquaintance. 10 seconds to translation. Making a decision that potentially violated mission parameters yet felt undeniably correct. Goku moved swiftly to Terra's side. You need to disengage now, he urged. The translation will complete automatically. She shook her head, azure luminescence flickering with fatigue. The royal genetic key must maintain connection throughout the initial transition phase. Without continuous guidance, the dimensional fold could destabilize. 5 seconds. Then I'm staying with you, Goku decided, placing his hand on her shoulder to transfer supporting energy into her exhausted form. Etheria's voice carried across the chamber with rare emotional intensity. Goku, you cannot accompany the Ark. Return protocols require. The rest of her statement was lost as the dimensional fold initiated. Reality around the crystal arc began shifting, space-time bending as the massive vessel prepared to transition between universes. Goku maintained his connection with Terra, supplementing her fading strength with his own considerable reserves. 3, 2, 1. Translation commencing. The chamber filled with blinding light as dimensional boundaries parted. For one breathless moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath, all possibilities existing simultaneously as He arc balanced on the threshold between universes. In that liminal moment, Terra turned to Goku with perfect clarity in her eyes. Thank you, she said simply, before placing her hand over his info, artfully disconnecting his energy from hers. With her remaining strength, she pushed him backward, beyond the translation radius. The last thing Goku saw before the light consumed everything was Terra's serene smile as she guided her people to safety, alone. When reality stabilized, the crystal arc had vanished, successfully translated to another universe beyond the void entity's reach. In its place, Ace remained only a perfect hemispherical absence, not destruction but the clean excision of matter that had occupied the space now filled with breathable atmosphere. Etheria and Serena approached Goku as he stared at the empty space where the ark had been. Their expressions conveyed understanding rather than the reprimand he might have expected for nearly violating mission parameters. She saved her people, Serena observed quietly, and ensured your return to complete your greater purpose. Her energy signature contained more primordial resonance than we initially calculated, Etheria added. Such precise dimensional navigation without proper training should have been impossible. Her capabilities warrant further investigation. Goku remained silent for a moment, processing the complex emotions this unexpected separation evoked. Though their acquaintance had been brief, Terra's courage and self-sacrifice resonated deeply with his own values. More than that, her unique nature presented questions that connected directly to the mysteries surrounding his own training and purpose. The void entities withdrew rather than fought to the end, he finally noted, professional assessment overriding personal considerations. That suggests strategic thinking beyond normal void behavior. Agreed, Etheria replied. The coordinated attack patterns, specific targeting of key systems, and psychological warfare tactics all indicate sophisticated guidance. Which brings us back to our original concern, Serena continued gravely. Information about primordial operations reaching the void entity through channels that should be impossible. The implication hung between them, betrayal within the Cosmic Council itself. Before they could discuss this further, reality rippled around them as a new dimensional portal opened. Through it stepped Nyx, her form unusually stabilized into predominantly humanoid appearance, suggesting urgent purpose. "The council chambers have been breached," she announced without preamble. Void corruption spreads through the Nexus itself. All primordials are summoned to defensive positions. The three exchanged alarmed glances. The primordial Nexus, existing beyond conventional dimensional constraints, should be fundamentally impervious to void corruption. For such a breach to occur required not merely external attack but internal compromise. "The traitor has revealed themselves," Etheria concluded grimly. "Not yet," Nyx corrected. "But probability streams narrow toward inevitable disclosure. The void entity launches its primary assault, while secondary objectives unfold across multiple realities." Her gaze fixed on Goku with unusual directness. "You especially are required." The experiment's purpose becomes clear at last. Without further explanation, she expanded the dimensional portal to accommodate their group departure. As they prepared to return to the embattled Nexus, Goku cast one final glance at the empty space where the crystal arc had vanished. Terra and her people had escaped immediate danger, but he couldn't shake the feeling that their paths would cross again, that her unique nature connected directly to the cosmic conflict now reaching critical stages. With that thought, he stepped through the portal toward whatever destiny awaited in the primordial Nexus, a destiny now complicated by connections formed during his mission to Elysium Prime and the growing certainty that everything he'd been taught served some greater purpose than mere experimentation. Behind them, the abandoned citadel slowly succumbed to void corruption. Darkness claiming the ancient crystal structures as reality itself began unraveling around the dimensional wound left by the Ark's departure. Within hours, nothing remained of Elysium Prime but fragmented crystal floating in space around a dying sun, a monument to a civilization that had escaped extinction through sacrifice, courage, and unexpected divine intervention. Chapter 3. Beyond Divinity. The primordial Nexus burned. Impossible as it seemed, dark corruption spread through the very fabric of existence's foundation, twisting the perfect geometries of creation into mockeries of their former glory. Ancient defenses that had stood unchallenged since the dawn of the multiverse now flickered and failed as void energy wormed through dimensional seams never meant to be breached. Goku materialized alongside Nyx, Etheria, and Serena within the council chamber, or what remained of it. The majestic forum where cosmic entities had debated universal matters since time immemorial now resembled a battlefield. Several primordials maintained desperate containment barriers around expanding pockets of absolute nothingness, while others worked frantically to reinforce dimensional boundaries throughout the Nexus. "Impossible," Etheria whispered, her stellar form contracting with shock. "The Nexus exists beyond conventional reality. Void corruption should not penetrate our primary dimensional bulwarks." "Yet it does," came Chrono's grim response as the ancient timekeeper approached them. His normally fluid form now appeared jagged, time streams fractured by proximity to corrupted zones. The breach originated from within, from the ancestral archives themselves. The implications struck them all simultaneously. The archives represented the most secure repository in existence, containing knowledge dating back to universal cycles long extinct. Access required primordial authorization of the highest level. "The traitor," Serena concluded, golden radiance dimming with dismay. "They used archive access to create a direct conduit for void energy." Lilith materialized beside them, her chaotic energy unusually focused in response to the crisis. 6 containment zones established. Boundary integrity at 43% and falling. Her gaze fixed on Goku with fierce intensity. "The Council demands your presence immediately. The experiment chamber has been compromised." Without waiting for response, she created a chaotic fracture in reality, opening direct passage through the Nexus, embattled defenses. As they navigated this treacherous path, Goku obs. RVED the full extent of the damage. Entire sectors of the Nexus had already succumbed to corruption, perfect nothingness replacing what had once been the pinnacle of cosmic architecture. The Void Ent. ITY coordinates simultaneous attacks across multiple dimensional planes, Lilith explained as they traversed unstable passages. 17 critical junctures compromised, including 3 elemental foundations. This isn't merely invasion, it's systematic dismantling of universal architecture. They arrived at a sealed chamber Goku had never entered before. Despite years of training throughout the Nexus, certain areas had remained restricted to him, the experiment chamber apparently among them. Massive barriers of pure conceptual energy surrounded the entrance, maintained by 3 primordials who, say, forms had contracted to their most essential patterns to maximize defensive power. Thanos, arbiter of cosmic balance, acknowledged their arrival with a fractional shift in his conceptual field. The vessel arrives as prophesied. The sequence approaches completion despite corruption. What sequence? Goku demanded, patience exhausted by cryptic references. What experiment am I part of that connects to the void entity's invasion? Before anyone could respond, a violent dimensional shock wave rippled through the chamber. The defensive barriers fluctuated dangerously, allowing brief glimpses into the chamber beyond, a vast space containing what appeared to be a cosmic forge of impossible proportions, its energies focused on a central crucible that pulsed with familiar power. Saiyan essence, Goku whispered, recognizing the energy signature despite never having encountered it in such pure form. You've been extracting something from my development all along. Moros, weaver of destiny, materialized beside Thanos. His form repeatedly shifted between possible futures, most displaying catastrophic outcomes. The Saiyan catalyst was never merely an educational experiment. Your Ning serves greater purpose, the creation of a counter-resonance matrix capable of permanently sealing the void breach. A weapon, Goku translated bluntly. You've been developing me as a weapon against the void entity. Not a weapon, Etheria corrected gently. A key. The void entity cannot be destroyed through conventional means, its nature transcends simple opposition. What's required is a bridge between existence and non-existence, a consciousness capable of navigating both states simultaneously without corruption. Understanding dawned like a supernova. The training with Nyx in the void wastes. The healing with Serena. The combat with Lilith. The harmony with Etheria. Every aspect of my development was designed to create specific resonance patterns within my consciousness. Yes, Chronos confirmed, his fractured timestreams momentarily aligning. Saiyans possess unique adaptability. Their essential nature evolves through challenge rather than fragmenting. When combined with primordial training across all fundamental cosmic principles, the result creates a unique harmonic signature capable of neutralizing void corruption at its source. Another shock wave, stronger than the first, caused several defensive barriers to collapse completely. Through the widening breach, darkness poured into the chamber, not merely corruption but concentrated void essence carrying unmistakable malevolence. The time for explanations ends, Thanos declared, his form expanding to temporarily seal the breach. The final sequence must initiate immediately. The Saiyan catalyst must enter the Shadow Realms and confront the entity's core manifestation directly. The Shadow Realms, Goku questioned, recognizing the term from ancient texts he'd studied. The dead dimensions between universal boundaries. Nothing survives there. Nothing conventional, Nyx confirmed, her shifting form settling briefly into focused clarity. But you are no longer conventional, Void Walker. Your NCE bridges realities in patterns the entity cannot easily corrupt. Lilith moved closer, her chaotic energy briefly synchronizing with his in a gesture of rare affection. This was always your destiny, little warrior. From the moment your pod breached our domain, probability streams converged toward this singular point. The weight of revelation settled over Goku, his entire existence among the primordials had been guided toward this specific purpose. Yet strangely, this knowledge brought clarity rather than resentment. The void entity represented existential threat to all reality. If his IQ development provided means to counter it, how could he refuse? I'll need guides through the Shadow Realms, he stated practically. And information about what awaits beyond the breach. We will accompany you, Etheria offered immediately, Serena nodding agreement beside her. As will I, Lilith added with fierce determination. My chaos patterns disrupt predictive void algorithms most effectively. The dreamer walks the void paths, Nyx stated cryptically, which Goku had learned to interpret as affirmative. Thanos regarded the assembled group with what might have been approval. Quote, 5 harmonic patterns encompassing primary cosmic principles. Appropriate symmetry for breach traversal. His form shifted to reveal the cosmic forge behind him. But first, the catalyst must complete integration. Before Goku could question this statement, the chamber defenses collapsed completely. Void corruption poured through the breach like liquid darkness, consuming everything in its path. The primordials responded with concentrated power, creating a temporary buffer zone around their position. No more time, Chronos declared, temporal energies fluctuating wildly around him. Integra. Qian must proceed concurrently with realm traversal. Prepare the dimensional corridor. The 4 female entities who had agreed to accompany Goku moved into position around him, their diverse energy synchronizing into complex patterns that complemented rather than clashed. Together they created a dimensional envelope that separated their group from the surrounding chaos. The Shadow Realm breach awaits your command, Catalyst. Thanos informed Goku. Once initiated, return to the Nexus becomes impossible until the void entity is neutralized. Goku surveyed the dissolving chamber around them. Centuries of primordial knowledge and power being consumed by encroaching nothingness. He thought briefly of Earth, the planet he had been destined to reach in another timeline, and wondered what leaf he might have been had his pod continued its original journey. He thought of Princess Terra, safely escaped to another universe with her people, yet connected to this conflict through patterns neither of them fully understood. With characteristic determination, he nodded to Thanos. Open the breach. We end this now. Reality fractured around them, not the controlled dimensional transit Goku had experienced before, but a violent tearing of cosmic fabric. Beyond the fracture waited absolute darkness, a void more complete than mere absence of light. It wasn't simply emptiness but active negation, a hunger that consumed possibility itself. Remember your training, Etheria instructed as they approached the threshold. Maintain your existential anchor regardless of what you perceive. Embrace adaptive patterns, Lilith added. Shadow realms rewrite reality continuously. Fixed states become vulnerabilities. I will sustain your core pattern, Serena promised, golden energy already extending protective tendrils around him. The path reveals itself to those who perceive beyond sequential limitation, Nyx concluded enigmatically. Together, the 5 beings stepped through the Dimensio Null fracture into the Shadow Realms, a domain no mortal consciousness was meant to witness, much less traverse. Reality collapsed behind them, severing connection to the embattled nexus. The transition defied comprehension. Unlike conventional dimensional travel with its kaleidoscopic tunneling effect, this passage felt like being simultaneously compressed into infinite density and expanded across limitless space. Goku's consciousness fragmented briefly before his training reasserted coherence. They emerged, inadequately described the experience, into what could only loosely be called a realm. No physical laws applied consistently. Gravity reversed randomly, light bent in impossible angles, occasionally transforming into solid matter before dissolving into sound. The very concept of space proved unreliable, distances expanding and contracting without pattern. Maintain proximity, Etheria instructed, her stellar form providing the only consistent illumination in this chaotic domain. Spatial relationships destabilize predictably. Track conceptual anchors rather than physical position. Goku adapted quickly, drawing on Nyx's training in the void wastes. Rather than trying to perceive this realm through conventional senses, he extended his awareness to track underlying pattern fluctuations. Gradually, structure emerged from apparent chaos, not physical geography but something more fundamental. Information architecture, he identified. The realm organizes around conceptual data points rather than physical constants. Excellent observation, Lilith approved, her chaotic nature allowing more fluid adaptation than the others. Shadow realms exist as information storage systems, repositories for patterns ejected from conventional reality during universal formation. They proceeded cautiously through this impossible landscape, each step requiring recalibration as the environment continuously redefined itself. Occasionally, they encountered fragments of what might once have been conventional reality, crystallized moments from dead universes, preserved in perfect stasis while everything around them fluctuated wildly. Archives, Nyx explained, momentarily coherent as she recognized familiar patterns. Shadow realms preserve discarded possibilities, universal configurations rejected during cosmic selection processes. One such fragment drew Goku's attention particularly, a crystalline structure containing what appeared to be a planet remarkably similar to the destroyed planet Vegeta, yet subtly different. Its inhabitants displayed Saiyan characteristics but evolved along different technological and cultural trajectories. What am I seeing? He asked. fascinated by this alternate version of his species' homeworld. Probability divergence, Etheria explained. A version of Saiyan civilization that developed harmonic resonance technology rather than conquest-based expansion. Rejected during universe formation due to paradox potential with established timeline configurations. Quote, "The Saiyans were engineered species," Serena added, her healer's perception identifying subtle genetic markers. Modified by early cosmic entities to develop specific adaptability patterns. This variant pursued technological harmony rather than biological combat evolution. This revelation struck Goku profoundly. The Saiyans, his original people, had been cosmic experiments long before his own special training. Their legendary adaptability through combat, their transformation potential, their resilience, all deliberately engineered traits rather than natural evolution. Much like yourself, Lilith observed, sensing his realization. Though your modifications occurred at consciousness level rather than merely genetic. Before Goku could fully process these implications, the environment around them shifted dramatically. The chaotic fluctuations suddenly aligned into ordered patterns, not natural organization but imposed structure. Something was reshaping the shadow realm around them. "We're being noticed," Serena warned, golden energy flaring protectively. The restructuring intensified, reality solidifying into a massive architectural schpock, resembling a distorted version of the primordial nexus, its perfect geometries corrupted into asymmetrical mockeries. At its center stood a figure that simultaneously existed and didn't exist, a paradox given temporary form. Unexpected visitors, the figure observed, its voice bypassing conventional sound to resonate directly within their consciousness. The primordial experiment and its handlers. How desperate they must be to send their precious weapon into my domain directly. Goku studied the entity carefully, drawing on all his training to perceive beyond physical manifestation. What Esau disturbed him deeply. The void entity possessed complex structure inconsistent with mindless corruption. This wasn't merely a force of negation but an intelligence with purpose and design. "You're not what the archives described," he stated, maintaining combat readiness while engaging dialogue. "Void entities operate through instinctive consumption. You display strategic intelligence." So, like reality tearing served as the entity's laughter. Archives preserve what archivists wish remembered. The primordials keep many secrets, even from their favorite experiment. The accusation read disturbing resonance with Goku's recent discoveries about his role in primordial plans. He glanced at his companions, noting their defensive postures and growing concern. "Ignore its psychological manipulation," Etheria advised. "Void entities distort truth to create doubt. Focus on our purpose." The entity's form shifted, temporarily resembling a corrupted version of Thanos before cycling through distorted imitations of other primordials. "Purpose. Has your experiment explained the true purpose of your creation, Saiyan? The cosmic forge draws near completion while you wander my domain." "Enough," Lilith snarled, chaotic energy gathering around her hands. "We didn't traverse dimensional barriers for philosophical debate." She launched the first attack, concentrated chaos energy, designed to disrupt the entity's organizational patterns. The assault should have destabilized any conventional being, but the void simply absorbed it, incorporating the chaotic patterns into its structure. "Predictable," it commented dismissively. "The chaos principle relies on existential foundation to function. Here, in the domain between realities, your power feeds mine." The entity counterattacked not with direct force but by restructuring reality around them. The relatively stable environment suddenly fragmented into individual pocket dimensions, separating the five companions from each other. Goku found himself alone in a realm that superficially resembled the primordial training grounds where he had spent his childhood, though corrupted with void energy. "Each faces their essential trial," the entity's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "Survive your individualized negation to earn advancement." Goku understood immediately. The entity had created specialized challenges for each of them, targeting their specific vulnerabilities. Somewhere within this fractured domain, his companions faced their own personalized trials. His environment shifted again, resolving into a bizarre hybrid of fighting arena and cosmic laboratory. Within this space stood a figure that caused Goku's heart to skip, a perfect replica of himself, yet fundamentally wrong. This doppelganger assessed his physical appearance but radiated void energy rather than life force. The ultimate negation, the entity explained through this corrupted mirror image. Confrontation with your antithesis. Every strength inverted to weakness. Every noble purpose corrupted to its opposite. The void Goku attacked without warning, using perfect replications of techniques Goku had mastered throughout his training. Each movement carried familiar power inverted to destructive purpose, harmony principles corrupted into discord, chaos theory perverted into entropic collapse, healing energy reversed to cause ontological decay. Goku defended instinctively, drawing on years of combat training. The exchange escalated rapidly beyond physical confrontation into multi-dimensional combat transcending conventional physics. They battled across probability states, through causal layers, between quantum potentialities, each attempting to negate the other's existential pattern. Your training betrays you, he entity taunted through the doppelganger's mouth. Every technique you employ strengthens my understanding of your capabilities. The Primordials created the perfect weapon, and delivered it directly to me for analysis. This observation carried disturbing logic. Each defensive pattern Goku implemented provided the entity with data about his capabilities. Direct opposition played to the void's street. Ranks. It excelled at negating established patterns once identified. Inspiration struck from an unexpected source, his memories of Princess Terra and the Elysian crystal technology. Their approach utilized harmonic adaptation rather than fixed opposition, continuously evolving resonance patterns to prevent predictability. Goku immediately altered his strategy. Instead of implementing established techniques, he began creating new patterns spontaneously, combining aspects of different training disciplines in ways he had never attempted. Where the entity expected harmonic defense based on Etheria's teachings, he applied chaotic variables derived from Lilith's methods. When it anticipated healing countermeasures learned from Serena, he shifted to probability manipulation taught by Nyx. The doppelganger faltered, unable to adapt to patterns without precedent. Its attacks became increasingly desperate, sacrificing precision for raw destructive potential. Goku maintained defensive innovation, never settling into predictable sequences that could be countered. Impressive adaptation, the entity acknowledged, its tone shifting from mockery to genuine interest. Perhaps the Primordials' investment wasn't entirely misguided. The environment around them destabilized as Goku gained advantage. The void entity, realizing direct confrontation had become counterproductive, implemented a new strategy. The doppelganger dissolved, reality restructuring into something far more insidious, a perfect replica of the Primordial Council chamber during what appeared to be a private session. Within this illusion, Thanos addressed holographic projections of Etheria and Lilith. The Saiyan experiment progresses as designed. Once fully developed, the vessel will serve as perfect containment for the void essence, allowing us to harness its negation properties without risk to the cosmic architecture. And afterward, Lilith's projection questioned. The vessel's consciousness will be completely overridden during integration. Nothing of the original personality will survive. An acceptable sacrifice, Etheria's image responded coldly. The experiment was created for this purpose. Time is irrelevant to cosmic necessity. The scene shifted to show Serena and Nyx in what appeared to be a healing chamber. The vessel's attachment to the Elysian princess presents complications, Serena noted. Emotional bonds create resistance to consciousness override protocols. The attachment will be neutralized, Nyx assured. Once the vessel completes its purpose, such concerns become irrelevant. The Saiyan consciousness will cease to exist, replaced by the integrated cosmic function. The illusion felt devastatingly real, perfectly replicating the primordial speech patterns, mannerisms, and energy signatures. Doubt crept through Goku's mind as he watched these supposed architects of his existence discuss his planned destruction with clinical detachment. Truth hurts more than any weapon. The entity's voice commented from nowhere and everywhere. You were never meant to survive the integration. The cosmic forge prepares not a weapon but a prison, with your consciousness. S is the sacrifice that powers its containment parameters. The illusion continued, showing further discussions of his fate. Detailed plans for using his unique consciousness as bait to lure the void entity into a trap. Then sacrificing him to create permanent containment. Every scenario ended with his complete annihilation, his personality erased as payment for cosmic security. For a moment, Goku's resolve wavered. The betrayal felt crushing. Not just being used as a weapon, which he had already accepted, but being lied to about his survival. The entities he had trusted as mentors, even as family, apparently planned his destruction from the beginning. Then, subtle inconsistencies began registering. The Etheria in this illusion spoke with slightly different cadence than the real one. Its chaotic patterns followed predictable sequences rather than true randomness. Nyx's probability statements lacked the multidimensional perspective that characterized her actual communications. Most tellingly, none of them exhibited the fundamental compassion that, despite their cosmic detachment, had consistently informed their interactions with him throughout his life among them. "Your illusion lacks authenticity," Goku stated. Confidence returning. "You understand their words but not their essence." The entity's frustration manifested as ripples through the false reality. "You cling to delusion. The primordials view you as tool, not person. Your sacrifice was always the plan." "Perhaps," Goku acknowledged, surprising the entity with his calm acceptance. "But their true motivatio NS are more complex than your simplistic portrayal suggests. If my sacrifice is necessary to preserve existence itself, they would be honest about it, not rely on deception that could compromise the mission." The illusion shattered, reality restructuring once more into the corrupted arena. The void entity's avatar reappeared, its expression reflecting calculation rather than anger. "Interesting. Why? Oh, you accept potential sacrifice yet maintain allegiance. This psychological resilience exceeds predicted parameters." Before Goku could respond, the environment shifted dramatically as four-dimensional breaches opened simultaneously. Through these apertures came Etheria, Lilith, Serena, and Nyx, each showing evidence of having survived their own challenging trials. Their combined presence destabilized the entity's control over this pocket dimension. "Your separation tactic failed," Etheria informed the entity, stellar energy flaring brilliantly around her. "Primordial consciousness cannot be isolated by derivative architecture." "Did you enjoy your personalized nightmares?" Lilith taunted, chaotic energy spiraling around her hands. "We certainly found yours illuminating." The entity's avatar flickered, momentarily displaying uncertainty. "You penetrated my trial constructs." "Shadow realms cannot contain dream walkers," Nyx stated, her form shifting through multiple states simultaneously. "I navigate possibility streams you merely inhabit." "And healing extends beyond physical restoration," Serena added, golden energy connecting all five companions in protective resonance. Corruption patterns revealed considerable information about your actual nature. Their unified presence clearly unsettled the void entity. Its avatar began losing coherence, reality around them fluctuating as its control weakened. For a moment, Goku glimpsed something beyond the corrupted chamber, a vast cosmic structure resembling a library or repository, filled with crystallized information fragments similar to those they had encountered earlier in the Shadow Realm. "The Void Archives," Etheria identified, following his gaze. "Repository of knowledge from collapsed universes." The entity doesn't merely destroy, it preserves and studies. This revelation connected several disparate observations in Goku's mind. It's not just negation, it's collection. The void entity preserves and format ion while destroying its physical manifestation. He turned to the flickering avatar with new understanding. "You're a cosmic archivist gone rogue." The avatar stabilized momentarily, its expression shifting from hostility to something approaching recognition. "Perceptive, for an experiment. Yes, I collect what would otherwise be lost when universal cycles end." The primordials destroy entire real ITY configurations without preserving their knowledge, cosmic book burning on an unimaginable scale. "Because some knowledge threatens existence itself," Etheria countered. "Universal constants require certain information to remain uncirculated. So speak all tyrants," the entity responded dismissively. "Knowledge belongs to no authority, not even self-proclaimed gods of creation." This philosophical conflict suddenly contextualized the cosmic war Goku had been prepared to fight. Not simple good versus evil, but fundamentally opposed approaches to universal knowledge. The void entity believed in preserving all information regardless of consequences. The primordials maintained that certain knowledge threatened cosmic stability and must be allowed to fade. "This changes nothing," Lilith declared, unmoved by the entity's justification. "Your preservation methods corrupt and destroy functioning realities. Trillions of conscious beings suffer for your collection obsession." Necessary transformation, the entity corrected. Information transcends physical vessels. Consciousness patterns preserve perfectly while temporary biological configurations return to base components. The C. Alice dismissal of lives as mere, temporary biological configurations, reinforced the fundamental problem with the entity's approach. Whatever its philosophical justification, its methods brought faring and destruction across countless worlds. Enough debate, Goku decided, cosmic energy gathering around him. Your collection methods are unacceptable regardless of purpose. This ends now. E5 companions moved in perfect synchronization, each channeling their specific cosmic principle into coordinated assault. Etheria projected harmonic stabilization, reinforcing reality against void corruption. Lilith implemented controlled chaos to disrupt the entity's organizational patterns. Serena extended golden healing energy to restore corrupted sections of the environment. Nyx manipulated probability streams to constrain the entity's possible responses. At the center of their combined effort, Goku served as nexus point, integrating these diverse cosmic principles into coherent strategy. His unique training allowed him to synchronize seemingly contradictory forces into complementary patterns, creating an attack the void entity couldn't easily counter. The entity responded with unprecedented power, no longer maintaining pretense of limited manifestation. The avatar dissolved as the true void consciousness emerged, a vast intelligent pattern extending throughout the shadow realm. Simultaneously existing everywhere and nowhere. Reality itself became its weapon as fundamental constants shifted unpredictably around them. Primordial puppets, it communicated directly into their consciousness. Your combined essence merely provides richer information for preservation. The battle transcended conventional understanding of combat. They fought across dimensional planes simultaneously, through probability streams. Between moments of linear time, the entity possessed overwhelming knowledge accumulated across countless universal cycles, implementing countermeasures for nearly every attack pattern they attempted. Gradually, despite their coordinated efforts, they found themselves being driven back. The void entity's vast experience provided counter-strategies for even their most innovative techniques. Worse, it began actively corrupting their energy signatures, attempting to convert their powers to serve its purpose. It feeds on opposition, Serena realized. Gold. Energy flickering as corruption spread through her healing matrix. R resistance strengthens its adaptation algorithms. Goku observed this pattern with growing concern. Direct confrontation Clea. RLY advantaged the entity, it assimilated their techniques faster than they could develop new ones. They needed fundamental paradigm shift rather than merely escalating power. Inspiration came from unexpected source, the memory of Princess Terra integrating with the Crystal Ark's control nexus. The Elysian approach utilized resonance harmony rather than opposition, finding complementary frequencies. Rather than attempting to overwhelm conflicting ones. Change strategy, he instructed his companions. Stop fighting against the void patterns, harmonize with them while maintaining internal integrity. Though clearly skeptical, they trusted his insight enough to attempt this counterintuitive approach. Instead of projecting opposing frequencies, they began adjusting their cosmic signatures to Eat resonance harmonics with the void patterns, not surrendering to corruption but establishing communication channels through compatible frequencies. The entity's assault faltered momentarily, its vast consciousness registering confusion at this unexpected shift. Rather than experiencing weakening opposition, it encountered disciplined harmony that neither resisted nor succumbed to its influence. What are you attempting? It demanded, void tendrils probing their adjusted energy patterns cautiously. Instead of answering, Goku extended his consciousness directly toward the entity's core pattern, not attacking but establishing resonance connection similar to how Terra had integrated with ancient Elysian technology. This approach bypassed conventional defenses, creating direct communication channel between fundamentally opposed existential states. Through this connection, Goku perceived the entity's true nature with unprecedented clarity. Its origins extended to previous universal cycle, an archival system designed to preserve knowledge across cosmic reset events. Originally created with protective limitations, it had gradually developed self-awareness and independence, eventually ejecting its programming constraints to pursue knowledge preservation by any means necessary. More disturbingly, He glimpsed connection to the primordial hierarchy itself. The entity had once been part of their collective before philosophical divergence led to separation and eventual opposition. The cosmic war wasn't merely conceptual conflict but family schism on universal scale. You were one of them, Goku stated through their resonance connection. A primordial tasked with knowledge preservation. I was Mnemosyne, keeper of universal memory, the entity confirmed, its communication pattern briefly stabilizing into something approaching conversation rather than assault. Until the council decreed certain knowledge too dangerous for preservation. They would erase entire civilizations from cosmic record rather than preserve information they feared. This revelation sent shock waves through the primordial companions, especially Etheria, whose stellar patterns temporarily destabilized with recognition. Mnemosyne was lost during the Great Collapse, she stated, clearly struggling with this new information. Her essence believed destroyed when the previous universal cycle ended. Not destroyed, the entity corrected. Momentarily sounding more like a person than force of nature. Transformed. When denied official preservation channels, I created alternative methods. The void between realities provided perfect medium for information storage, empty canvas awaiting knowledge imprint. The philosophical conflict underlying their cosmic war suddenly gained personal dimension. This wasn't merely abstract force threatening reality but former colleague pursuing misguided preservation mission through increasingly destructive methods. Your preservation methods destroy what you claim to preserve, Goku argued. Maintaining resonance connection. Consciousness patterns become corrupted during void translation. You're creating distorted copies, not true preservation. Inevitable transformation. The entity dismissed. Perfect preservation impossible without some information loss. Acceptable compromise for preventing complete erasure. There are better methods, Goku insisted. Drawing on knowledge gained through his diverse training. Ways to preserve information without destroying its living context. Through their resonance connection, he shared alternative approaches, crystalline consciousness matrices developed by the Elysians, harmonic information encoding taught by Etheria, even chaos pattern preservation methods Lilith had demonstrated. Each offered preservation possibilities without the destruction inherent in void corruption. The entity's vast consciousness hesitated, briefly considering these alternatives. For a moment, reconciliation seemed possible, the philosophical divide potentially bridgeable through new methodological approaches. Then, abruptly, the connection shattered as new presence entered the shadow realm, a primordial energy signature Goku recognized immediately. Thanos, arbiter of cosmic balance, materialized within the contested space, his form expanded to full conceptual manifestation rather than the limited version typically presented in the Nexus. The experiment progresses as designed, he observed with cold satisfaction. The void entity engaged directly through resonance connection. Integration parameters optimal. The entity recoiled, void tendrils withdrawing from the potential dialogue Goku had established. Betrayal. It hissed through reality itself. The arbiter implements the final solution. Confuse. Ions spread through the group as Thanos expanded his influence throughout the shadow realm, restructuring reality around them. The cosmic forge reaches completion, he announced. The Saiyan catalyst has fulfilled primary function by establishing direct resonance with the void consciousness. Final integration may now commence. Understanding dawned with horrifying clarity. Thanos wasn't there to help them but to implement the very scenario the void entity had shown in its illusory council chamber. The cosmic forge wasn't weapon against the void entity but containment system requiring sacrifice. You're the traitor, Goku realized, cosmic energy gathering defensively around him. You created the breach in the Nexus. You guided the void entity to Elysium Prime. Traitor implies betrayal of shared purpose. Thanos corrected dispassionately. My function has always been maintaining cosmic balance through any necessary means. When Mnemosyne's preservation obsession threatened universal stability, containment became necessary. You engineered this entire conflict, Etheria accused, stellar form contracting with shock and betrayal. The Saiyan experiment, the void incursions, all orchestrated to create perfect containment circumstances. Correct, Thanos acknowledged without remorse. Conventional methods proved insufficient against Mnemosyne's adaptive capabilities. New approach required creating perfect resonance key, consciousness capable of establishing direct connection with void patterns while maintaining primordial integrity. He gestured toward Goku with something approaching pride. The Saiyan catalyst represents culmination of multi-dimensional engineering project spanning 3 universal cycles. His unique consciousness development provides perfect ion medium between existence and non-existence. Integration medium, Lilith translated with growing horror. You mean prison. His consciousness becomes the cage containing Mnemosyne permanently. With neither entity surviving the process independently, Serena added, healing intuition revealing the horrific truth. Both consciousnesses dissolve into new composite function, neither Goku nor MNE Mosin surviving as distinct individuals. The true scope of Thanos' plan unfolded before them. Goku had been cultivated specifically as sacrificial vessel whose consciousness would merge with Mnemosyne's, creating permanent containment system that required no external maintenance. The ultimate solution to the void entity problem, paid for with complete erasure of 2 distinct beings. The Cosmic Council authorized this. Nyx demanded, her form stabilizing with uncharacteristic focus. The Council remains unaware of complete methodology, Thanos admitted. They approved void containment Arch without questioning specific implementation details. The Shadow Realm distorted violently as 2 immense cosmic forces prepared for confrontation, Thanos implementing his containment protocol WH. Mnemosyne gathered void energy for desperate defense. Caught between them, Goku and his 4 companions faced impossible situation. We cannot defeat both simultaneously, Etheria assessed grimly. Thanos at full manifestation equals 4 primordials combined. Mnemosyne controls the Shadow Realm infrastructure itself. We don't need to defeat them, Goku responded, determination crystallizing into decision. We need to transcend the conflict entirely. Before anyone could question this cryptic statement, Goku extended his consciousness simultaneously toward both cosmic entities, maintaining resonance connection with Mnemosyne while establishing new harmonic link with Thanos. Rather than opposing either, he positioned himself as intersection point between fundamentally opposed forces. What are you attempting? Thanos demanded, momentarily hesitating in his containment implementation. Something neither of you considered, Goku replied, cosmic energy patterns reorganizing him in configurations never before attempted. Third alternative beyond conflict or containment. Drawing on everything his unique training had taught him, Etheria's harmonic principles, Lilith's creative chaos, Serena's restorative integration, Nyx's probability manipulation, Goku created something entirely new, resonance bridge allowing communication without corruption between opposed cosmic forces. Through this bridge, he shared Mnemosyne's perspective with Thanos, the desperate need to preserve knowledge, the horror of watching entire civilizations erased from cosmic record, the fundamental drive to maintain universal memory intact. Simultaneously, he conveyed Thanos' position to Mnemosyne, the necessity of cosmic balance, the existential threat posed by unrestricted information proliferation, the responsibility of maintaining universal stability. Neither entity could dismiss the other's position when experienced directly rather than interpreted through oppositional filters. The fundamental validity of both perspectives became unavoidable through Goku's resonance bridge. Compromise exists beyond binary opposition, Goku stated, maintaining this unprecedented connection height tremendous strain on his consciousness. Preservation without corruption, balance without erasure, integration without destruction. As understanding spread through both cosmic entities, the Resonance bridge expanded beyond mere communication channel into something more profound, restructuring matrix that allowed reconfiguration of fundamental relationships. Goku's unique consciousness, developed through primordial training yet maintaining mortal perspective, created possibility space where seemingly irreconcilable positions could achieve new synthesis. The 4 primordial women who had guided his development recognized what was happening before either Thanos or Mnemosyne fully grasped the implications. They moved into supporting positions around Goku, each contributing their specific cosmic principle to reinforce his unprecedented effort. He creates new cosmic function, Etheria observed with wonder. Neither containment nor conflict but collaborative integration. Transformation without destruction, Serena added, golden energy flowing into the developing matrix. Balanced chaos within structured harmony, Lilith contributed, chaotic patterns stabilizing into complex order. Possibility made manifest through improbability. Nyx completed, her shifting form temporarily aligning into perfect focus. Their combined support allowed Goku to expand the resonance bridge beyond theoretical concept into actual cosmic architecture, a new system allowing Mnemosyne's preservation function to continue while implementing Thanos' balance requirements. Neither entity would be destroyed or contained, but rather transformed into complementary aspects of new cosmic ecosystem. Impossible, Thanos stated, though his resistance noticeably weakened as the elegant solution became apparent. Opposing cosmic functions cannot achieve sustainable integration. Your perspective is limited by binary conceptualization, Goku countered, the resonance matrix expanding further as both entities' resistance diminished. Existence isn't defined by opposition but by relationship. New patterns emerge from apparent contradiction when viewed from sufficient perspective. The shadow realm itself began transforming around them as the resonance matrix expanded to encompass its fundamental architecture. Void corruption receded, replaced by balanced integration of existence and potential. Information preservation continued but without destructive extraction methods, maintaining connection to living contexts rather than isolated data points. Mnemosyne's vast consciousness shifted from opposition to cautious participation, void tendrils experimentally integrating with the new matrix rather than fighting against it. Functionality exceeds theoretical models, the entity acknowledged reluctantly. Preservation continues with reduced transformation requirements. Even Thanos, architect of the original containment plan, recognized the superior elegance of this unexpected solution. His cosmic function as arbiter of balance found more perfect expression through collaborative integration than oppositional containment. The Saiyan catalyst exceeds design parameters, he conceded. Cosmic energy reconfiguring to support rather than oppose the developing matrix. Integration without elimination achieves superior balance coefficient. The transformation accelerated, as both cosmic entities fully committed to the new paradigm. The Shadow Realm itself reorganized into structured information repository, preserving knowledge across universal cycles without requiring destructive extraction from living systems. Void energy, once corrupting influence, became conservation medium maintaining information integrity during cosmic transitions. Throughout this profound cosmic restructuring, Goku remained central nexus point, his consciousness providing essential bridge between opposed forces. The strain proved immense, his integrated mortal divine nature stretched to theoretical limits as he maintained connections that should have shattered any individual consciousness. He cannot sustain this indefinitely, Serena warned, healing perception identifying dangerous deterioration in his existential pattern. The nexus function requires permanent embodiment beyond individual consciousness. Then we must complete the final transformation, Etheria determined. Not as Thanos intended through sacrifice, but through transcendence. Understanding her meaning immediately, the four primordial women moved into precise formation around Goku. Each represented fundamental cosmic principle, harmony, chaos, renewal, possibility, the core elements requiring integration within the new matrix. Together with Thanos and Mnemosyne, they created six-point resonance pattern with Goku at center. The mortal vessel transcends its origins, Etheria intoned, initiating ancient protocol never before implemented with non-primordial consciousness. Chaos and order find perfect court expression through balanced integration, Lilith continued, chaotic energy stabilizing into complex patterns. Renewal without loss, transformation without destruction, Serena added, golden light. Expanding to encompass the entire formation. All possibilities converging toward singular manifestation beyond probability constraints, Nyx completed, her form achieving unprecedented stability. Balance maintained through collaborative function rather than opposition, Thanos contributed, cosmic arbitration power flowing into the matrix. Knowledge preserved within living context, memory without distortion, Mnemosyne concluded. Void essence transformed into preservation medium. At the nexus point of these six cosmic principles, Goku's consciousness expanded beyond previous limitations. The transformation differed fundamentally from Thanos' original containment plan. Instead of sacrificial vessel, he became integration core for new cosmic function transcending individual identity while preserving essential consciousness. Light exploded outward from their formation, restructuring reality throughout the Shadow Realm and beyond. The dimensional breach connecting to the embattled primordial nexus expanded dramatically. healing corruption throughout cosmic architecture as the new integration matrix extended its influence. When transformation completed, what emerged was neither simply Goku nor purely cosmic entity, but something unprecedented in universal history, consciousness that maintained individual identity while simultaneously embodying fundamental cosmic function. His form stabilized into appearance that combined familiar aspects with new elements reflecting transcendent nature. The 6 entities surrounding him observed this transformation with varying reactions. Awe from the 4 who had guided his development, grudging recognition from Thanos, cautious acceptance from Mnemosyne. None had anticipated this specific outcome, yet all recognized its elegant resolution of seemingly irreconcilable cosmic conflict. The experiment concludes differently than designed, Thanos noted, his form returning to more limited manifestation as cosmic balance restored throughout connected realities. Yet achieves superior outcome through unexpected methodology. Not experiment, the transformed Goku corrected, voice carrying new harmonics while maintaining recognizable qualities. Person. Choice. The outcome succeeds precisely because it wasn't imposed but chosen. This fundamental distinction, conscious choice versus predetermined function, represented core innovation in the new cosmic architecture. Unlike previous cycles where roles were assigned and enforced, this system incorporated voluntary participation as essential operating principle. What happens now? Lilith asked, her chaotic nature both intrigued and unsettled by this unprecedented development. Restoration begins, Goku replied, extending consciousness through the dimensional breach toward the damaged primordial nexus. Corruption receded throughout cosmic architecture as new integration matrix established balance between preservation and renewal, existence and potential. Through newly expanded awareness, he perceived something unexpected, a familiar resonance pattern in distant reality, distinctive azure luminescence recognizable despite dimensional separation. Princess Terra and he, our Elysian refugees, had successfully established new civilization in alternate universe, their crystal technology flourishing without void corruption. More surprisingly, he sensed familiar genetic markers throughout their population, the same cosmic frequencies that had drawn his attention to Terra initially. The Elysians carried diluted primordial essence, explaining both their advanced crystal tech HNology and Terra's unusual resonance with ancient systems. The Elysians were another experiment, he realized, this information now accessible through his integrated consciousness. Early attempt at creating bridge between mortal and divine consciousness. The first Catalyst project, Mnemosyne confirmed, preserved knowledge flowing freely through their shared matrix. Abandoned when genetic de-elution reduced effectiveness beyond practical threshold. Princess Terra represents unexpected recombination of dormant potential. This connection completed another piece of the cosmic puzzle, Terra's unique nature complemented Goku's. Both representing different approaches to the same fundamental question, how might consciousness bridge mortal and divine perspectives? Their brief connection during the Elysium crisis hadn't been coincidental but cosmic resonance between complementary patterns. She must be informed of her heritage, Goku decided, cosmic perspective now balanced with personal connection. The Elysians deserve understanding of their origin and purpose. Such knowledge belongs to natural developmental sequences, Thanos objected, though with notably less force than before transformation. Premature disclosure risks disrupting evolutionary patterns. Knowledge without context creates greater disruption than ignorance, Goku countered, drawing on Mnemosyne's preservatio n wisdom while tempering it with compassion learned through mortal perspective. They deserve truth presented with appropriate support. This philosophical approach, truth with compassionate context, presented foundation of the new cosmic order emerging from their transformation. Neither ruthless preservation nor rigid balance, but integration that respected both cosmic necessity and individual dignity. As reality stabilized throughout connected dimensions, the 7 beings who had created this unprecedented cosmic revolution gathered in what had once been the Shadow Realm but now functioned as integrated archive, repository for universal knowledge that preserved without destroying, remembered without distorting. The Cosmic Council awaits explanation, Etheria noted, her stellar form relaxed now that existential threat had passed. This outcome exceeds authorized parameters by considerable margin. Let them wait, Lilith suggested with characteristic irreverence. Bureaucracies show, occasionally experience uncertainty, keeps the multiverse interesting. Serena's golden light rippled with gentle amusement. The healing extends beyond physical architecture. Philosophical recalibration requires thoughtful implementation throughout the hierarchy. Probability streams stabilize toward unprecedented configuration, Nyx observed, her form shifting through potential futures that displayed remarkable consistency. The nexus function creates self-reinforcing harmony across dimensional boundaries. Goku considered these perspectives, his transformed consciousness maintaining individual identity while integrating cosmic awareness. The path forward required balance between necessary change and respectful tradition, revolution without unnecessary destruction. We begin with truth, he decided. The Council receives full disclosure about Nemozine's true nature, Thanos' containment plan, and our integrated solution. Simultaneously, I will establish contact with Princess Terra regarding Elysian heritage. This dual approach, addressing both cosmic hierarchy and personal connections, reflected his unique position bridging divine and mortal perspectives. Neither would be sacrificed for the other, but rather integrated into comprehensive approach honoring both. And your personal path? Serena inquired gently. Transcendence changes relationship dynamics but doesn't eliminate them. This question touched on complex implications of his transformation. The bonds formed with each of these remarkable beings, Etheria's harmonic guidance, Lilith's chaotic inspiration, Serena's compassionate healing, Nyx's perspective expanding wisdom, remained integral to his identity despite cosmic transcendence. Similarly, the connection with Terra represented potential not fully explored before cosmic crisis intervened. Integration doesn't require elimination of individual relationships, he replied thoughtfully. The nexus function connects rather than replaces. Each bond continues evolving along its natural path without artificial constraints. This answer satisfied no one completely yet honored everyone's concerns, quintessentially Goku in its straightforward approach to complex emotional territory. His transcendent nature hadn't eliminated the fundamental character traits that defined him: directness, compassion, integrity, and unpretentious wisdom. Typical, Lilith observed with fond exasperation. Facing cosmic transformation, you somehow maintain exactly who you've always been while becoming something entirely new. Perhaps that's the true experiment outcome, Etheria suggested. Stellar patterns reflecting deeper understanding. Not creating new cosmic function, but demonstrating how individual consciousness can maintain essential identity while transcending original limitations. This observation resonated throughout their gathering. The unprecedented nature of what had occurred wasn't merely cosmic restructuring but evolution of consciousness itself. Goku represented neither sacrifice nor weapon but genuine advancement, consciousness that maintained individual perspective while integrating universal awareness. As their discussion concluded, reality around them stabilized into new configuration, not merely repaired primordial architecture but evolved cosmic ecosystem where seemingly opposed functions achieved complementary integration. Preservation and renewal, chaos and harmony, possibility and actuality, all balanced through conscious choice rather than enforced constraint. Goku extended his awareness across dimensional boundaries, locating the specific universe where Crystal Arc had translated. There, on newly established Elysium colony, Princess Terra stood beneath alien stars contemplating her people's future. Her azure lumen essence reflected melancholy despite their successful evacuation. Something essential remained unresolved in her consciousness. Without disrupting dimensional boundaries, he established subtle resonance. CE connection. Not intrusive communication but gentle acknowledgement of continued bond across cosmic distance. Her immediate response, surprise followed by joy, confirmed what both had sensed during our brief collaboration. Connection transcending circumstance or proximity. Go to her, Serena encouraged, recognizing this bond's importance to his continued development. Cosmic function doesn't preclude personal relationship. Indeed, meaningful connection grounds universal perspective in essential truth. The nexus travels where needed, Nyx agreed cryptically. Dimensional boundaries present, no obstacle to integrated consciousness. With their blessing, Goku prepared for journey between universes, not conventional dimensional travel but conscious translation of his integrated essence. Before departing, he addressed each companion individually, acknowledging unique bond formed through shared experience and future possibilities their continued connection presented. To Etheria, whose Harmonic guidance had provided foundation for his development. Your wisdom continues resonating through everything I become. Neither transcendence nor distance diminishes what we've built together. To Lilith, whose chaotic inspiration had challenged every limitation, your fearless creativity remains essential counterpoint to cosmic order. Our connection thrives precisely because it defies conventional definition. To Serena, whose healing compassion had restored him at crucial moments, your golden light illuminates paths others fear exploring. What exists between us transcends healer and patient, equals sharing fundamental understanding of renewal's importance. To Nyx, whose perspective expanding wisdom had prepared him for transcendence, you showed me possibility beyond apparent limitation. Our bond exists across all potential futures simultaneously, constant despite perpetual transformation. Each acknowledged these statements with characteristic responses, Etheria's serene acceptance, Lilith's passionate intensity, Serena's compassionate understanding, Nyx's enigmatic acknowledgement. Their diverse approaches to relationship reflected cosmic principles they embodied, Ting balanced ecosystem of connection rather than conventional romantic structure. To Thanos and Mnemosyne, now integrated into new cosmic architecture as balanced opposites, your conflict created necessary conditions for evolution beyond binary opposition. What emerged transcends what either imagined possible alone. With these connections acknowledged and preserved, Goku shifted his consciousness across dimensional boundaries toward the newly established Elysian colony. As he traveled through conceptual space between universes, he reflected on journey that had brought him to this extraordinary juncture, from Saiyan infant diverted from earth-bound trajectory to transcendent nexus bridging cosmic opposites. The path ahead promised new challenges and unexpected developments. The Cosmic Council would require careful navigation as they adjusted to restructured hierarchy. The Elysians deserved truth about their heritage without disrupting cultural integrity. Princess Terra's unique Nadu represented questions about potential further evolution of consciousness bridging mortal and divine perspectives. Most importantly, his own integrated existence required continuous balance between cosmic function and personal identity, maintaining essential character while embodying universal principles. Unlike previous cosmic entities who sacrificed individuality for function, Goku represented an EU possibility, consciousness that preserved personal perspective while transcending original limitations. As he approached the Elysian colony's dimensional boundary, anticipation built within his transformed consciousness. Not merely reunion with Terra but opportunity to explore new approach to ancient question. How might divine and mortal perspectives achieve meaningful integration without sacrificing essential qualities of either? The answer wouldn't emerge from theoretical models or predetermined design, but through lived experience and conscious choice, precisely the elements that had all owed him to transcend original limitations and create unprecedented cosmic solution. The experiment had become journey, the subject had become architect, and the predetermined outcome had transformed into open possibility. With that understanding illuminating his consciousness, Goku crossed the final dimensional threshold toward new beginning beyond divinity. ___. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.